Hey guys, I'm here to help you unwind tonight. Maybe you'll stay awake for the stories, or maybe you'll drift off halfway through. Both are perfectly fine. Before we begin, take a breath, lock your door, and make sure your water's nearby. If you want, say hello in the comments and let me know where you're listening from. It's nice to know who else shares this small moment of stillness. Now, as the world outside fades, let's step quietly into tonight's myths. Story 1: The Lady of the Lake, the Mist over Avalon. Morning arrives slowly at the lake's edge. Fog rises from water so still it mirrors the pale sky above. This is no ordinary morning. This is no ordinary place. The lake stretches wide and silent. Trees line its banks, their branches hanging low as if bowing to something unseen. The water holds secrets. It always has. Local folk speak of this place in whispers. They call it the threshold. Some say it touches another world, a realm beyond the one we know. A place where time moves differently, where ancient things still breathe. The mist never fully lifts here. Even on the brightest summer days, a thin veil hangs over the surface. It shifts and swirls with no wind to move it. Shapes form within the fog, shadows that might be trees, or might be something else. This lake has many names, in older tongues, words that no longer find easy voice, but one name persists above all others: Avalon, the Isle of Apples, the Blessed Realm, the place where legend and water become one. Few dare approach the shore alone. Those who do speak of a presence, a watching, a weight in the air that presses gently against the chest. Nothing threatening, simply there, patient, eternal. The lady dwells here. She has always dwelt here. Before kingdoms rose, before crowns were forged, before men learned to shape metal into tools and weapons, no one knows her true name. Perhaps she has no name. Perhaps names are too small for what she is. The stories simply call her the Lady, the Guardian, the Keeper of the Blade. She does not age. Years pass like seasons. Seasons pass like days. She remains unchanging, unmoving, waiting. Her form appears in the tales as something between flesh and spirit, pale as moonlight, hair that flows like water itself, eyes that reflect depths no mortal can fathom. Some say she wears robes of silk. Others claim she rises clothed only in mist and memory. The truth lies somewhere in the space between. She is neither fully of this world nor entirely beyond it. She exists in the threshold, the place where edges blur, where endings become beginnings. The lake serves as her domain. Every ripple, every fish that swims beneath, every reed that grows along the muddy banks, all fall under her watch. She guards more than water. She guards purpose, destiny, the turning of great wheels that move kingdoms. Birds do not sing here the way they do elsewhere. Their calls come softer, more respectful, as if they too sense what dwells beneath the surface. Deer approach to drink, but they do not linger. They take what they need and slip back into the forest. Even animals understand this is sacred ground. At night, the lake takes on a different character. The mist thickens. Stars reflect on the water's surface, doubling in number. On certain nights when the moon hangs full and low, some claim to see lights beneath the waves. Not fire. Something cooler. Something older than flame. Fishermen avoid these waters. No net has ever pulled bounty from this lake. No line has ever drawn a catch. The fish swim free here, untouched by human need. They belong to the lady. Everything here belongs to the lady. The sword rests somewhere in those depths. Excalibur, the blade of destiny, forged in realms beyond human reach, shaped for a purpose that transcends simple warfare. More than a weapon, a symbol, a promise, a burden wrapped in steel and starlight. The lady alone knows its resting place. She alone can call it forth. The sword does not rust, does not dull. Time passes over it the way wind passes over stone. It waits, just as she waits. Stories speak of others who came before, kings and warriors, heroes and fools, all seeking the blade, all believing themselves worthy. None succeeded. The lady does not give to those who ask. She does not respond to demands or prayers. She gives when the time arrives, when destiny calls, when the right soul stands at the water's edge. Only then does she rise. Only then does the sword break the surface. The lake holds more than one secret. Some say other blades rest in the deep. Weapons of legend, spears that never miss, shields that cannot break, treasures of a world that faded long ago. The lady keeps them all, safe, hidden, removed from the greed of mortal hands. But Excalibur stands apart. The others are relics, memories of glory. Excalibur is different. It lives, it pulses with purpose, waiting for the one who will claim it, the one who will bear its weight. The mist grows thicker as dawn breaks. Light filters through in pale shafts. The water remains still. A mirror to the sky. The lady watches from her place between worlds. She has seen countless mornings. She will see countless more. The trees whisper in a language older than words. The reeds sway though no breeze touches them. This is Avalon. This is the threshold. This is where the story begins. A figure will come soon. He does not know it yet. He rides through distant forests. He sleeps in camps surrounded by men who call him friend. But destiny draws him forward. Threads unseen pull him toward this shore. The lady knows. She always knows. Time means little to her. Whether he arrives today or a year from now matters less than rain to the ocean. She will be here. The sword will be here. And when he stands at the water's edge, when his need becomes greater than his fear, she will rise. The fog shifts. A shape moves within it. Or perhaps nothing moves at all. Perhaps it is only the eye seeking pattern in chaos, the mind reaching for meaning in the mist. But the lady is there. She is always there, patient as stone, timeless as the water that surrounds her, waiting for the moment when two destinies will meet at the edge of the world. The hours pass in silence. The sun climbs higher, but its light barely touches the lake. The mist swallows everything, softens every edge, blurs every boundary. In the depths, the sword rests, waiting, always waiting. The blade has known many hands, many names, many wars and victories and losses. But those days lie far behind. Now it sleeps, dreams whatever dreams such things might hold. The lady tends to it, though tending seems too active a word. She simply is. Her presence alone keeps the blade safe, keeps it hidden from those who would use it poorly, keeps it ready for the one who will wield it well. She remembers them all, every soul who stood at this shore seeking power, seeking glory, seeking answers to questions they could barely form. Some came with pure hearts, others with greed burning in their chests. None received what they sought. The sword chooses, not the seeker. Time folds strangely here. Morning might last a moment or a month. The lady cannot say, does not care. She exists beyond such measures, beyond the ticking of clocks and the turning of seasons. The water ripples once. No wind causes it. No fish breaks the surface. Simply a ripple, as if the lake itself takes a breath, prepares for what comes next. Somewhere far away, a young man mounts his horse. He does not know where he rides. He follows only feeling, a pull in his chest, a whisper at the edge of thought. The threads of destiny begin to draw tight. The lady senses this, the way a spider senses vibration in its web, the way a wolf knows when prey moves through distant trees. She does not move, does not prepare. She has always been prepared, since before the first stone was laid, since before the first word was spoken. The mist thickens further still, becomes almost solid, a wall of white that shields the lake from the world beyond. This is the way of thresholds. They must be crossed, cannot be observed from a distance. Birds fall silent now. The forest holds its breath. Even the trees seem to lean closer, watching, waiting, knowing that something approaches, something that will change the pattern of things, that will shift the weight of the world. The lady stands in her place beneath the waves, or perhaps she sits, or perhaps she simply exists. Form means little to her. She is presence more than body, will more than flesh. Her eyes open, or perhaps they were always open, looking up through layers of water and mist toward the surface far above, toward the shore where destiny will arrive, where a man will stand, where a sword will be given, where the cycle will turn once more. The blade hums, so quiet, so deep, a sound felt more than heard. It knows too, recognizes its moment approaching. After years of rest, after ages of waiting, soon it will rise, soon it will taste air again, soon it will find the hand it was made to fit. The sun reaches its peak. Noon arrives, though the mist makes time hard to judge. Light and shadow blend into gray. Everything becomes soft, uncertain, perfect. The lady rises through the water, slow as growth, silent as thought. Her form takes shape as she ascends, from presence to being, from spirit to something that might be called flesh. Though even that word feels too solid, too fixed. She stops just below the surface, the water above her head, thin as silk. She can see through it, see the shore, see the mist, see the space where he will stand. Not yet, though. Not quite yet. Soon. The threads draw tighter, the moment approaches. But now is not the time. She settles back, returns to her place in the deep. Returns to waiting. This is her nature. Has always been her nature. She does not rush, does not force. She is the tide, the moon, the slow turn of stars across the sky, inevitable, patient. Sure, the sword rests in her hands or near her, or perhaps it rests in her keeping without physical touch. The boundary blurs here, but possession is different things beneath the water, beyond the veil. Its blade catches what little light filters down, gleams with inner fire. The metal holds no mark, no scratch, no sign of the countless battles it has seen. It is eternal. Made in fires that no longer burn, shaped by hands that have long since turned to dust, runes cover the fuller. Ancient marks, words of power and binding. They shift and change depending on who looks, depending on when, depending on need. The sword speaks many languages, tells many truths, all of them real, none of them complete. The pommel holds a gem, clear as water, deep as the ocean. Some say it holds a piece of the first light, others claim it is frozen flame. The truth is simpler and stranger. It is a window, a way to see beyond, to glimpse what might be, what must be. The lady has gazed into that stone countless times, seen futures branch and split, seen paths that lead to glory, others to ruin, all possible, all waiting to be chosen. She sees Arthur there now, young, strong, uncertain, standing at a crossroads he does not yet recognize. The stone shows him crowned, shows him victorious, shows him building something beautiful, something that will last, for a time. But the stone also shows darkness, betrayal, blood, the slow collapse of everything he builds, the inevitable weight of human weakness pulling down even the noblest dream. The lady does not judge these visions. She simply watches, accepts. The sword will be given. What happens after belongs to the world of men. She guards the blade. She does not control its use. The water around her grows colder, a sign, a signal. The moment draws close now, very close. She can feel it the way skin feels approaching storm, the way bones know when rain will fall. She rises again, this time with purpose, this time with certainty. The threads have drawn tight enough. The pattern is ready. Destiny and will align at last. The surface breaks above her. Mist parts. The shore appears. Empty still, but not for long. She can sense him now. Approaching. Drawing near. His horse picking its way through forest paths. His heart beating faster without knowing why. She waits at the boundary. Water and air, here and there, present and eternal, the sword in her keeping. The gift ready, the burden prepared. This is her purpose, has always been her purpose, to stand at the threshold, to offer the blade, to set souls on paths they cannot yet imagine. She does not choose who receives. She recognizes, acknowledges. Gives to the one the sword has already chosen. The trees at the forest edge begin to stir, not from wind, from presence, from the arrival of the one. The lady feels it like a note struck on a bell, clear, pure, resonant. He comes. The king who will be, the man who will carry this blade into legend, the soul who will bear its weight and honor and burden until the final day. The mist thickens one last time, prepares to part, to reveal. To allow the meeting that has been written since before time, learn to count itself. The lady holds still, holds ready, the sword gleams in her hands, waiting, as it has always waited, as it will wait again when this cycle completes and returns to the beginning. The shore receives its visitor. The moment arrives, and the story, old as water, begins anew. The gift and the oath. Arthur rides alone through the forest. His men camp 3 miles back, resting after days of hard travel. He told them he needed to scout ahead to survey the land. They accepted without question. They always do. But scouting is not what draws him forward. Something else pulls at his chest, a whisper at the edge of hearing. Not words, more like a direction. A knowing that something waits ahead, something meant for him. He does not understand this feeling, has felt nothing like it before. His hand rests on his sword hilt. The blade at his side feels suddenly wrong, too light, too temporary, as if it is practice for something real. His horse moves carefully between the trees, ancient oaks, thick trunks, roots that rise and fall like frozen waves. Moss hangs from branches, green and gray and silver. The forest feels old here. Old in ways that make the stones of castles seem young. Light breaks through the canopy in scattered shafts. Gold and shadow. Bright and dark. The air tastes of damp earth, of growing things, of secrets kept in bark and soil. Birds call in the distance, soft, hesitant, as if they too sense something different in this place. Squirrels watch from high branches, their eyes following the rider below. Even the insects seem to pause in their endless work. Arthur's heartbeat quickens. He does not know why. No threat appears. No enemy waits in ambush. Yet his body responds to something his mind cannot name. Anticipation, perhaps, or recognition of a moment larger than himself. The horse's ears swivel forward. It slows without command. Something ahead. Arthur leans forward in the saddle, peers between the trunks, sees nothing yet. But the feeling grows stronger. The trees begin to thin. The canopy opens wider. More light reaches the forest floor. The ground slopes downward, gentle at first, then steeper. His horse picks its way carefully, hooves finding purchase on exposed roots and moss-covered stones, and then the forest ends, opens onto a shore, and Arthur sees the lake. Mist covers everything, thick as wool, white as fresh snow. It sits on the water like a living thing, moving without wind, breathing without lungs, simply there, eternal and immediate. Arthur dismounts. His boots sink into soft earth at the water's edge, dark soil, damp, smelling of minerals and age. The horse stays back, unwilling to approach further. Its head tosses, ears flat, not fear, respect. The mist pulls at something deep in Arthur's chest, a recognition, as if he has stood here before, though he knows he has not, has never been to this place, never seen this water. Yet it feels familiar, like returning home after years away. He takes a step closer. The water laps gently at the shore. Each small wave arrives and retreats with perfect rhythm, like breathing, like heartbeat. The steady pulse of something alive. Silence surrounds him, the kind of silence that feels full rather than empty. The forest has stopped its rustling. The birds have ceased their calls. Even the water seems to breathe softer, as if everything holds still. Waiting. Arthur knows this moment matters, cannot say how he knows, cannot explain the certainty. But it settles over him like weight, like pressure, like the air before a storm. His destiny stands before him, hidden in mist, waiting in water. He opens his mouth to speak, to call out to whoever might listen, but the words catch in his throat. What would he say? To whom would he speak? The lake, the fog, the presence that presses against his awareness like a hand on his shoulder. The mist shifts before he can try again. Not blown by wind, not dispersed by sun. It simply parts, as if hands push it aside, as if a will greater than weather decides to reveal what lies beyond. A path forms across the water, clear and straight, leading into nothing, leading into everything. The mist walls rise on either side, solid as stone. The path between them shows water smooth as glass. Arthur's breath catches. His hand tightens on his sword hilt, not from fear, from awe, from the understanding that he stands at the edge of something beyond his knowing, beyond anyone's knowing. And then she rises. The Lady of the Lake emerges from beneath the surface as if the water itself takes form. No splash, no disturbance. She simply appears, standing on the surface, or perhaps slightly above it. The boundary cannot be clearly seen. Mist clings to her like silk, wraps around her arms, her shoulders, her waist, not hiding her form, adorning it. She wears the fog as queens wear velvet, with grace, with belonging. Her hair flows in currents that do not exist. Dark as deep water, long as memory, it moves around her face, over her shoulders, never obscuring, never tangling, simply flowing, as if underwater still, as if the lake and her being cannot be fully separated. Her skin holds the color of moonlight on snow, pale beyond pale, yet not sickly, not weak. She seems lit from within, as if light pools beneath her surface, as if she contains dawn. Her eyes catch Arthur's gaze. He cannot look away, cannot blink. They hold depths that make the lake seem shallow. Colors shift within them, green, blue, gray, silver, all at once, none at all. They reflect everything, reveal nothing. She does not smile, does not frown. Her expression holds something beyond human emotion. Peace, perhaps, or acceptance, or the stillness that comes from witnessing countless ages pass, from seeing kingdoms rise and fall like waves. In her hands, she holds a sword, and Arthur's breath stops completely. The blade catches light that has no source, silver and white, edges so sharp they seem to cut the very air. The metal gleams with purity beyond any smith's skill, beyond any forge's heat. This was not made in workshops, not shaped by human hands alone. The hilt shines with gold, not painted, not plated, solid, pure. Worked with designs that seem to move as he watches, spirals, knots, patterns that lead the eye in circles that suggest meaning just beyond reach. Gems set in the pommel sparkle like captured stars, clear, deep, holding light and shadow in equal measure. They pulse, so faint he might imagine it, so real he cannot deny it, as if the sword has a heartbeat. as if it lives. Runes run along the fuller, letters in no language Arthur knows, yet somehow he senses their meaning. Power, duty, destiny, justice, sacrifice, words that carry weight, that demand response. Excalibur, the name enters his mind fully formed, not spoken, simply known. This is the blade of legend, the sword that chooses its bearer, the weapon that will shape kingdoms, that has shaped kingdoms, that will shape them again. The lady does not speak, her lips do not move. Her throat does not work with words, yet Arthur hears, or perhaps feels, or perhaps simply knows. The message reaches him clear as dawn, clear as the water between them. This is yours, has always been yours. Take it, bear it, let it guide you, let it test you, let it make you what you must become. She extends the sword toward him. The movement carries grace that defies description. Fluid as water, solid as stone, both and neither. Her arms move slowly, deliberately, as if time itself bends to her will, as if haste means nothing to her, has never meant anything. The blade points toward Arthur, toward his heart. He feels it there. A pull, a calling, as if the sword speaks to something in his chest, something he did not know lived there until this moment. Arthur steps forward, his boots sink into water at the lake's edge, cold seeps through leather, rises past his ankles. He does not notice, does not care. His entire being focuses on the blade, on the moment, on the weight of what this means. His hand trembles as he reaches out, not from fear, from understanding. This sword comes with cost. Power always does. Gifts from the threshold carry obligations beyond measure. Accept this and his life changes, can never return to what it was, but he reaches anyway, cannot stop himself, does not want to stop. This is why he came, why he rode alone, why the whisper pulled him through the forest to this shore. This moment has been waiting. He has been waiting. The sword has been waiting. His fingers closer on the hilt. The moment they touch metal, warmth floods through him. Not heat, something else. Life, purpose, destiny made solid. It rushes up his arm, into his shoulder, across his chest, through his entire body like wine, like light, like breath after drowning. The sword fits his hand as if made for it, made only for it. The grip settles against his palm with perfect pressure. The weight balances exactly right, not too heavy, not too light, an extension of his arm, of his will, of his soul. The lady releases her grip, her fingers slide from the blade, from the hilt, her hands lower to her sides. The sword settles completely into Arthur's keeping, passes from her care to his, from ancient guardianship to mortal duty. For one breath they stand connected, the lady, the sword, the man. 3 points of destiny meeting in mist and water and morning light, 3 threads weaving into one pattern, one purpose, one future still unwritten, but already certain. Arthur feels tears on his cheeks, does not remember starting to cry. The weight of the moment overwhelms him, not with fear, with responsibility, with the sudden knowledge of what he must do, what he must become, what this blade demands from him. The lady's eyes hold his. In them he sees himself, sees his future, crowned, seated at a great round table, surrounded by the finest souls, building something beautiful, something that will matter, that will last for a time. But he also sees shadows, betrayal lurking in trusted faces, blood on familiar ground, the slow collapse of everything he will build, the inevitable weight of human weakness pulling down even the noblest dream. All of this in a single glance, all of this in a heartbeat. The lady shows him truth, does not hide the cost, does not promise easy victory, simply reveals what is, what will be, what must be walked regardless. Arthur nods, acceptance, understanding. He knows now what he takes. Not just a sword, a burden, a crown of thorns wrapped in glory. He will carry it anyway, must carry it. Cannot turn away from what the blade has chosen. The lady begins to lower, not sinking, not diving, simply returning, descending back into the depths that birthed her. Her form grows less solid, more mist, more water, more presence than person. Her eyes never leave his, not until the surface closes over her head, not until she fades completely. Even then, Arthur feels her watching, will always feel her watching. The lady never truly leaves. She remains, in the lake, in the sword, in the threads of destiny she guards. The water accepts her without ripple, without sound. She vanishes like memory, like dream, like mist touched by sunrise, one moment there, the next gone, as if she never broke the surface, as if the meeting never happened. But the sword remains, heavy in Arthur's hand, real, solid, proof that it all occurred, that he stands changed, that his life has turned toward a new path. Arthur stands alone at the shore. The mist begins to close once more. The path across the water vanishes. The walls of fog collapse inward. The lake returns to its eternal stillness, as if nothing disturbed it, as if no hand rose from its depths, as if no gift passed from one world to another. He lifts the blade, examines it in the filtered forest light. The metal gleams, perfect, flawless, without mark or scratch. The runes shift as he watches, their meaning changing, adapting, speaking to this moment, to his heart, to his questions. The sword hums, so faint he might imagine it, so real he cannot deny it, a vibration that runs through the blade, into the hilt, into his hand, into his bones. The weapon lives, responds, recognizes its bearer. This blade will shape his life. He knows this with absolute certainty, knows it the way he knows his own name. It will bring victory, will bring burden, will mark him as chosen, as different, as king. The weight settles into his arm, into his shoulder. He lowers the blade, looks at it from different angles. The light catches the edge, sharp enough to cut thought, strong enough to cleave stone. This is power, true power, the kind that changes worlds. But power means nothing without purpose, without direction, without the will to use it well. The sword cannot make him good, cannot make him wise. It can only amplify what he already is, what he chooses to become. Arthur understands this. The lady's eyes told him. The sword's weight confirms it. He has been given a tool, not a solution, not a guarantee. A tool. What he builds with it belongs to him alone. The horse whinnies softly behind him. Time to return. Time to ride back to camp. To men who followed him out of loyalty and hope. Men who need a leader. Men who need a legend. Men who need someone to believe in. Arthur slides the sword into the empty scabbard at his hip. It fits as if made for that space, as if all other swords were merely practice for this moment. The blade settles with a soft sound. Final. Complete. He turns from the lake, takes 3 steps back toward the forest, then pauses, looks over his shoulder. The mist covers everything once more. Thick, impenetrable. The lady is gone, but she is also there. She will always be there, watching, waiting, guarding the threshold between what is and what will be. Arthur raises his hand, a gesture of thanks, of farewell, of acknowledgement. He does not know if she sees, does not know if she cares, but it feels right, feels necessary. Some moments demand recognition. Some gifts require gratitude. The mist shifts, or perhaps it does not. Perhaps it is only his eyes seeking response, his heart wanting connection. But for just a moment he thinks he sees her. A shape in the white, a form in the fog, watching him, blessing him, releasing him to his fate. Then she is gone. Truly gone. The mist is only mist, the lake only water. The magic of the moment fades into memory, into the ordinary world of trees and earth and sky. Arthur mounts his horse. The animal settles under his weight, calmer now. The presence has passed. The threshold closed. They can return to the world of men and steel and simple purpose. He turns toward camp, toward his future, toward the weight of crown and sword and destiny. His hand rests on the hilt, feels its warmth, its certainty, its promise and threat. The forest accepts him back into its embrace. Trees stand tall and silent. Moss sways in breeze that barely moves. The path ahead winds through shadow and light. Familiar now. Safe. The magic left behind at the shore. Behind him, the lake rests. The lady returns to her vigil. The depths hold their secrets close. Another soul has received the gift. Another thread in the great pattern has been woven. Another turn of the wheel begins. Years will pass. Battles will be fought. Kingdoms will rise and fall. Through it all, the sword will remain. Arthur's companion. His burden. His link to powers beyond mortal understanding. The sun climbs higher. Morning moves toward noon. Arthur rides through dappled light, his future spreading before him like a road. Some paths clear, others hidden, all of them waiting. The sword hums against his hip. Patient. Ready. It has served before. It will serve again. This is its nature, its purpose, its eternal cycle. From the lady's hands to a king's, from legend to history, from prophecy to fact. Arthur does not look back again, does not need to. The lake will always be there. The lady will always guard. And when the time comes, when the wheel turns full, the sword will return. She will receive it back into the depths. The cycle will complete. But that moment rests far ahead. Years, decades, a lifetime away. For now, Arthur rides toward his becoming. The blade at his side, the weight of choice settling into his bones. The gift has been given. The oath has been made. Though no words were spoken, though no promises were voiced, Some contracts exist beyond language. Some bonds form in silence. Some destinies require only a touch, a meeting, a single moment when three threads cross and weave into one. The lake knows, the lady knows. And now Arthur knows too. He is marked, changed, set apart. The bearer of Excalibur, the king who will be, the man who will try, who will succeed, who will fail, who will do all these things in service of something larger than himself. His men will see the sword when he returns, will recognize its quality, its craft, its power. They will ask where he found such a blade. What smith could forge such beauty, such strength? Arthur will not tell them, cannot tell them. Some truths live beyond explanation. Some moments belong to silence. The sword speaks for itself, will always speak for itself. Its presence is answer enough. He rides on, the forest path clear ahead, his horse steady beneath him, the sword at his hip, the future unknown, the burden accepted, the gift received. And somewhere behind him, beneath water and mist, the lady watches. Sees him ride away, sees him carry the blade into the world of men. She does not smile, does not weep, simply watches, as she has watched so many others, as she will watch those who come after. The cycle turns, the wheel moves, morning fades toward afternoon, and the story, old as the lake itself, continues. One ending leading to a beginning, one gift setting 1,000 events in motion, one sword changing everything and nothing, both and neither. This is the way of thresholds, of magic, of destiny, clear and mysterious, simple and complex, known and unknowable, all at once, forever. The return to the deep years pass like water through open fingers, time that feels both endless and brief. Arthur rises, the sword rises with him. Together they shape a kingdom from chaos. They bring order where only struggle lived before. Camelot stands tall, white walls gleaming under summer sun, banners snapping in clean wind, a beacon of hope, a symbol of what might be when good souls gather under shared purpose. The castle grows year by year, stone by stone, each wall a promise, each tower a dream made solid. The great hall holds the round table, Arthur's greatest creation. More than furniture, more than wood and craft, a symbol. No head, no foot, all equal in the circle. King and knight side by side, rank mattered less here than worth, position counted less than heart. The finest souls of the age find their way to Camelot, drawn by tales, by honor, by the chance to serve something larger than themselves. They come from far lands, distant shores, each carrying their own story, their own wounds, their own hope. Lancelot arrives early, the greatest knight in the world, his sword arm unmatched, his courage beyond question. He kneels before Arthur and swears his oath, his voice steady, his eyes clear. He will serve, will protect, will stand between the king and darkness. Gawain comes next, then Galahad, then Percival, then Tristan. One by one they gather, each taking their place at the table, each adding their strength to the whole. Together they become something none could achieve alone. The Round Table grows famous across the land. Stories spread of knights who defend the weak, who protect the innocent, who bring justice to places where only might held sway. Parents tell children these tales. Old men speak them by fires. The legend grows. Excalibur never fails. In battle after battle, Arthur wields the blade with skill born from something beyond training. The sword moves like extension of thought, like will made solid. Enemies fall before it, not from cruelty, from necessity, from the hard reality that peace must sometimes be won through strength. The blade saves him countless times, a shield raised too slowly, a spear thrust that should have landed, an arrow aimed at his heart. The sword moves, parries, deflects, as if it has will of its own, as if the lady still guides it from her place beneath the waves. Years of plenty follow, harvests come full, trade routes flourish, villages grow into towns, towns into cities. The land prospers under Arthur's rule, under the protection the Round Table provides. Peace spreads like light at dawn. Guinevere arrives at Camelot young and bright, daughter of a distant king, a marriage to strengthen alliances, to bind kingdoms. But Arthur sees more than politics in her eyes, something real, something rare. Love grows where duty began. Their wedding fills the great hall with joy. Lords and ladies from every corner gather. Wine flows, music plays, laughter rings off stone walls. For a moment, the kingdom feels immortal, unbreakable, as if nothing could ever threaten what they have built. The years pass in this golden time, spring and summer and autumn and winter. The cycles turn, but the kingdom endures. The Round Table grows in legend, in power, in the weight of what it represents. Arthur ages, slowly, Lines appear at the corners of his eyes, gray threads through his beard. His joints ache on cold mornings. The weight of the crown grows heavier with each passing year. Each decision, each life that depends on his choices. But the sword remains unchanged, bright as the day he received it, sharp as the moment the lady placed it in his hands. No mark mars its surface, no battle leaves trace on its blade. It stands eternal, a reminder of magic, of destiny, of burdens that do not fade with time. Arthur sometimes dreams of the lake, of the mist, of the lady's eyes holding truths he only half understood. In those dreams, she watches him, does not speak, does not judge, simply watches, as if measuring, as if waiting to see what he becomes. He wakes from these dreams with the sword humming beside his bed, so soft, so distant. But there, always there, a connection to something beyond the stone walls of Camelot, beyond the concerns of court and crown. The golden years stretch long, 10, 20, 30. Camelot stands strong. The round table holds. Knights ride out on quests and return with stories, with victories, with proof that the dream lives, that honor and justice can triumph over darkness. But time moves in cycles. What rises must fall. What is built must one day crumble. This is the way of all things. Kings and beggars, crowns and rags, all return to the same earth in the end. The first crack appears where none expected. Not from outside enemies, not from invading armies, from within, from the heart of Camelot itself, from love turned poison, from trust broken. Lancelot and Guinevere, the greatest knight and the queen, drawn together by something neither could name. Neither could resist. What began as admiration became something deeper, something dangerous, something that threatened everything. Rumors spread like fog creeping over walls, whispers in corridors, glances exchanged in court. Arthur hears them all, tries to ignore, tries to believe his friend, his wife, his family, but doubt eats at certainty. Question gnaws at trust. The truth emerges like sunrise, inevitable, unstoppable. Lancelot and Guinevere caught in embrace. Witnessed by those who cannot be silenced. The kingdom learns. The round table fractures. The dream begins to crack. Arthur must act, must enforce the laws he himself created, laws that apply to all, even queens, even the greatest knights. Even those he loves more than his own life. Justice demands it. The kingdom demands it. The sword at his hip demands it. Guinevere faces trial. The sentence is clear, set by tradition, by law, by the weight of her position. She must answer for breaking the sacred bond, for threatening the unity Camelot represents. Lancelot cannot accept this, will not. He rides to her rescue, his sword cutting through guards, through knights who once called him brother. He takes her, flees. Disappears into the wild lands beyond Camelot's reach. The round table shatters that day. Some knights follow Lancelot, others remain with Arthur. Brother against brother, friend against friend. The circle breaks. The symbol cracks. The dream bleeds out through a wound no sword can close. War rises from the ashes of trust. Arthur must hunt those who fled, must bring them to justice or appear weak, must enforce the laws or watch the kingdom dissolve. The choice tears at him, but he chooses, as kings must. Months of fighting, skirmishes in forests, battles at castle gates. Knights who train together now face each other across bloody fields, each swing of the sword, each fallen friend, each death adding weight to Arthur's shoulders. Excalibur still serves, still cuts true, but each stroke carries burden now. Each victory feels like loss. The blade meant to unite instead divides. The power meant to protect instead destroys. Or perhaps it only reveals what was always there, human weakness, the rot at the heart of even the noblest dream. Messages arrive at Camelot while Arthur pursues Lancelot, urgent, dark. Mordred has seized power in the king's absence, has claimed the throne, has declared himself ruler, betrayer, usurper, some say his son. The stories twist and change with each telling. Arthur must return, must face this new threat. The war with Lancelot ends unfinished. Too many problems, too many fronts. The kingdom crumbles while he chases shadows of broken friendship. The ride back to Camelot feels longer than any journey before, each mile heavy with dread, with certainty that nothing will ever be the same. That the golden age has passed, that only endings remain now. Mordred refuses to yield, gathers his own forces, those who see opportunity in chaos, those who hunger for power, those who believe might makes right. The kingdom splits completely. Civil war erupts across the land. Brother fights brother, father against son, villages burn, fields run red. Everything Arthur built begins to collapse, not from outside invasion, from internal poison, from the weakness he could not see, could not prevent, could not heal. The sword still serves, still never fails, but Arthur begins to hate its perfection. Its eternal gleam, it does not rust while his kingdom rots, does not dull while his dream dies. It remains constant, a mockery of everything turning to ash. He dreams of the lake more often now, of the lady's eyes, of the visions she showed him that first morning, the crown, the glory, but also the shadow, the betrayal, the blood. She showed him all of it, and he took the sword anyway, accepted the burden, walked the path. No blame can be placed on her. She hid nothing, promised nothing, simply gave him the tool, what he built with it, what crumbled. All of that belongs to him, to human choices, to mortal weakness. The sword only amplifies, never creates, never destroys on its own. Months pass, the war grinds on. More dead, more widows, more orphans crying for fathers who will not return. Arthur grows tired, soul tired, the kind of exhaustion that sleep cannot touch, that rest cannot ease. His remaining nights notice. See the weight bowing his shoulders, the gray spreading through his beard like frost, the way his hand trembles when he thinks no one watches. Their king is dying, not from wounds, from grief, from the slow weight of broken dreams. The final battle comes on a field far from Camelot. Morning mist hangs low, similar to another mist, another morning. A lifetime ago beside a lake. Arthur sees the pattern, the cycle, beginning and ending meeting in fog and silence. He stands among his surviving men, so few remain. Loyal to the end, good souls who could have fled, should have fled, but stayed, because they believed. Because the dream meant something, even as it died. Across the field Mordred waits. His force is larger, stronger, fresher. They have not fought for years, have not bled themselves dry chasing ghosts and broken promises. They are ready, eager, certain of victory. Arthur looks at his men, sees their tired faces, their hollow eyes. They will fight because he asks, will die because he leads. But they have already lost. Everyone knows this. The kingdom is finished. The dream is dead. Only the dying remains. He draws Excalibur, one last time. The blade gleams in dawn light. Perfect, eternal, mocking his mortality with its endless shine. He raises it high, his men raise their weapons in response, a ragged cheer, more ritual than belief, but they give it anyway, for him, for memory, for the dream that once lived. The battle begins at dawn. Men charge, steel meets steel, screams fill the air, the ground grows slick with sacrifice. Arthur moves through the chaos like he has 1,000 times before. The sword in his hand, destiny and death walking together. But he is old now, slower. His armor feels heavier, his breath comes harder. The sword still moves with grace, still cuts true. But his arm tires, his legs shake. Time claims even legends, even kings, even those who bear sacred blades. Hours pass, the sun climbs, the living grow fewer, the fallen grow many. Arthur's armor bears new dents, new scratches, blood that is not his own, blood that is. Pain blooms in his side, in his shoulder, in his chest. He ignores it, keeps moving, keeps fighting, because stopping means the end. He finds Mordred near the center of the carnage. They face each other across bodies, across broken shields and shattered spears, across the wreckage of everything that was. Words pass between them, lost to history, lost to the screaming wind and crying wounded, accusations perhaps, justifications, final words that mean everything and nothing. Then they fight. Excalibur sings its final song in Arthur's hands. The blade moves with all the skill of decades, all the power of legend, all the weight of a dying king who has nothing left to lose. Mordred fights well, young, strong, hungry, but he is not fighting just Arthur. He fights the sword, fights destiny, fights the lady's choice made long ago beside a misty lake. Mordred falls. The sword takes him through the chest, through the heart, through the life that animated his rebellion. He drops to his knees. Eyes wide, surprised that death found him, surprised that power was not enough, but not before his own weapon finds its mark. Arthur staggers. Pain explodes in his side, hot, spreading, final, the kind of wound that tells its own story, that marks an ending, that cannot be healed by time or skill or hope. His knights rush forward, the loyal few who remain. They lift him, carry him from the field. Blood trails behind, too much blood, a river of red marking the path of a dying king. A dying dream, a dying age. They bring him to the shore, a lake, perhaps the same lake, perhaps different. All thresholds look alike when death approaches, when the veil grows thin, when endings call us back to beginnings. The mist rises just the same, The water holds the same stillness. The presence presses with equal weight. Arthur lies on cold ground, grass wet with dew, or blood. Both, perhaps. His breaths come shallow, each one harder than the last, each one costing more than he can afford. The sword rests beside him, still bright, still perfect, mocking mortality with eternal gleam. His hand touches the hilt, feels its warmth, its certainty, its inhuman patience. The blade has served, has carried him through everything. Now it must be released, must return, must complete the cycle. He calls for Bedivere, the last of his knights, the most loyal, the one who must complete the final task, the one who must let go of what all men want to hold. The words come difficult. Each one costs breath he can barely spare. But the command is clear. Take the sword, return it to the lake, throw it into the water, let it return to the lady. Let the cycle complete. Let the wheel turn full. Bedivere takes Excalibur. His hands shake as they close around the hilt. The weight surprises him. Heavier than expected, or perhaps the burden of the task makes it feel so. He walks to the water's edge. Mist swirls around his boots, around his legs, welcoming, waiting. He looks at the sword. Gems catch dying daylight. The blade holds such beauty, such worth, such power. Kings would trade kingdoms for this weapon. Men would pledge their souls. How can he throw away such treasure? How can he send such power into darkness? Bedivere cannot do it, cannot throw away what shines with such promise, cannot waste what might still save, could still protect. He hides the sword among reeds, pushes it deep into plants at the water's edge, covers it with leaves, with shadow, then returns to Arthur empty-handed, claims the deed is done. Arthur's eyes narrow. Pain clouds his vision, but not his sense. He knows lies, has heard thousands in his years as king. This is another. He asks what Bedivere saw, what happened when the sword touched water. Describe it, tell me true. Bedivere stammers, says nothing, only water and mist, only waves and silence, only the ordinary death of a weapon in deep water. Arthur knows. The lie sits obvious as dawn, naked as newborn. He sends Bedivere back, commands again, this time with force, with the last reserves of kingly authority, with the voice that once commanded armies, that built kingdoms, that shaped the world through will. Return the sword, complete the task, let go of want, embrace what must be. This is not yours to keep, was never yours to keep. It belongs to the threshold, to the lady, to the cycle that turns beyond human want or need. Bedivere walks back to the shore, takes the sword from the reeds, pulls it from its hiding place. Again he stands at the edge. Again temptation whispers, keep it, hide it. Such power should not be lost, could be used, could help, could matter. But Arthur's words echo, the pain in his voice, the certainty that this matters, that some things are larger than personal desire, that destiny demands completion, that the wheel must turn, that all things borrowed must be returned. Bedivere draws back his arm, feels the weight of the blade, the perfect balance, the living warmth in the metal. He pauses. One more moment. One more breath. Then swings, releases, lets go. The sword arcs through the air, end over end. Light catches the blade with each turn. Flashing, brilliant, a falling star, a dying dream made solid. For one moment it hangs suspended, perfect, eternal. Then it falls toward water. Before it touches the surface, as a hand rises from beneath. Pale, wrapped in mist, the lady's hand, just as it was decades before. Unchanged, unaged, eternal. Time means nothing to her. Death means nothing. She is patient. She is always patient, her fingers close around the hilt. The sword settles into her grip as naturally as breath, as naturally as water returns to ocean, as naturally as all things come home at last. She holds it high. 3 times she waves the blade, a gesture of completion, of acceptance, of farewell. The movement carries meaning beyond words, acknowledgement, recognition. The gift has been returned. The cycle completes. The bearer has finished his task, released his burden, given back what was always borrowed, what was always meant to return. Then she descends, taking Excalibur with her, returning it to the depths that forged it, to the realm beyond mortal reach, to the place where destiny waits between uses, between ages, between kings. The water accepts them both without sound, without ripple, as if they never broke the surface, as if the hand never rose, as if nothing disturbed the eternal stillness. Only the closing mist, only the fading light, only silence. Bedivere stands stunned, his arms still extended, watching the space where hand and sword vanished. The mist closes over the spot. The lake returns to stillness. He turns back to Arthur, his feet heavy, his heart heavier. the weight of what he witnessed pressing on his chest. He describes everything: the hand, the waving, the descent into depths unknown. Arthur nods. Relief softens the pain in his face, eases the lines around his eyes. The task is complete. The sword returned, the burden lifted, the wheel has turned full circle. Other figures arrive then, women dressed in dark robes. They emerge from the mist as if born from it, moving with grace that seems more than human, more than mortal. They carry the same presence the lady held, the same certainty, the same belonging to both worlds. They lift Arthur gently, place him in a small boat that waits at the shore. When it arrived, no one can say. Perhaps it was always there. Perhaps it appeared when needed. The difference holds no meaning. Some things simply are when the time comes. The women row. The boat glides across still water, into the mist, toward Avalon, toward the place where endings and beginnings blur together, where the wounded find rest, where legends go when mortality claims them, where kings sleep until the world needs them once more. Bedivere watches until the mist swallows the boat completely, until even the sound of oars fades to nothing, until only silence remains. He stands alone on the shore, the last witness to the passing of an age, the final soul to see the king, to watch him vanish into myth. The lake holds its secrets. Arthur rests somewhere in the blessed isle. The lady guards her blade once more. Excalibur waits in the depths for the next turning, for the next soul worthy of its weight, for the next time the world needs such power, such burden, such gift. Years will pass, centuries, kingdoms will rise and fall like waves. Men will search for the sword, for the lake, for proof that the legend held truth. They will find only water, only mist, only silence, only stories passed down through generations, changing, growing, fading. But the lady remains, she always remains, watching over the threshold, guarding the blade that shaped a kingdom, waiting for the moment when the world needs such power again, when the cycle demands another turning, when destiny calls another soul to the shore. Perhaps that moment will come. Perhaps the sword will rise once more, catch light that has no source, pass from ancient hands to mortal. Perhaps another king will stand where Arthur stood, will take what Arthur took, will bear what Arthur bore. Or perhaps it rests forever in the deep, a memory, a dream, a story told to children on winter nights, a lesson about power and burden, about gifts that come with chains, about the cost of trying to build something beautiful in a world that always breaks. The mist drifts across the water, patient, eternal. The lady stands in her place between worlds, neither here nor there, neither then nor now, simply present, simply watching, simply guarding what must be guarded. And somewhere, in the space beyond mortal knowing, Arthur sleeps, waiting, like the sword, like the lady, like all things that touch the eternal, resting until the call comes again, until the wheel turns once more, until the cycle demands his return. The cycle completes, the wheel turns, dawn breaks over the lake, and the story, like the mist, drifts on forever, never truly ending, simply changing form from steel to water. From king to legend, from history to myth, from reality to dream. The lake knows all this, the lady knows, and in the depths the sword remembers, the weight of destiny, the burden of power, the gift that comes with chains, all resting now, all returned to the source, all waiting for time's next turning. The shore grows quiet, the sun climbs higher, day moves forward as it always does, birds begin to sing again, distant, respectful, as if they too know something sacred past, something ending and beginning in the same moment. But the lake remains, the threshold endures, and the lady watches, now and always, guardian of the blade, keeper of the cycle, the presence that will outlast all kingdoms, all kings, all the passing dreams of mortal men. She does not age, does not tire, does not doubt or question or wonder. She simply is, as the lake is, as the mist is, as the eternal turning of all things is, patient beyond measure, still beyond understanding. Waiting beyond time, the sword rests in her keeping, bright still, sharp still, perfect still, unchanged by the blood it tasted, unmarked by the battles it won, untouched by the kingdom it could not save. The blade holds no memory of failure, only purpose, only potential, only the promise of what might be. Next time, next king, next turning of the wheel. And so the story ends and begins and continues all at once, forever. This is the way of thresholds, of magic, of destiny. Clear and mysterious, simple and complex, known and unknowable, all at once, always. The Lady of the Lake stands watch, the sword waits in the deep, and somewhere, in the place where legends rest, Arthur sleeps. The king who was, the king who will be, the eternal sleeper, the once and future soul. The mist drifts, the water breathes, the cycle turns, and the story, old as the lake itself, waits to be told again by another voice to another listener in another time, when the world needs to remember that power comes with burden, that gifts carry costs, that even the noblest dreams must one day end. But endings are not death, they are transformation, change, the return to source before beginning again. The wheel turns down, then up, then down again, forever. This is the way, has always been the way, will always be the way. The lake knows, the lady knows, the sword knows, and now perhaps we know too. The story complete, the circle closed. The cycle at rest, until the next turning, until the next call, until destiny rises from the mist once more and offers its terrible gift to another waiting soul. Story 2. The Green Man of the Forest, Whispers in the Grove. Morning comes slowly to the village of Ashwood. Mist clings to the thatch roofs. Smoke rises from chimneys in thin gray ribbons. The world wakes without hurry. Beyond the last stone wall lies the forest. Ancient oaks stand shoulder to shoulder, their branches woven into a ceiling of green. The trees are old, older than the church, older than memory itself. The villagers know the forest well. They gather firewood from its edges. They drive their pigs beneath the oaks each autumn to feast on acorns. But they do not go deep, not after dark, not alone. There are rules here, unspoken but understood. Take only what you need. Leave offerings at the old stones. Speak with respect when you mention the trees, because the forest is not empty. At the edge of Ashwood, where the dirt path meets the tree line, an old woman sits outside her cottage. Her name is Elda. She has lived here longer than anyone can remember. Her hands are gnarled like roots. Her eyes are clouded with age, but when she speaks of the forest, her voice grows clear. He walks among the oaks, she tells the children who gather at her feet. The Green Man, neither spirit nor flesh, but something in between. The children lean closer. One boy asks what he looks like. Elda smiles. Like spring and autumn all at once. Hair like ivy. Skin like bark. Eyes the color of new leaves. He moves without sound. He watches without judgment. He remembers what we forget. She pauses. The children wait. He is the forest's heart, she says at last, and the forest never forgets. The village follows the rhythm of seasons. Planting in spring, harvest in autumn, long dark winters by the fire. The priest rings the bell each morning. The blacksmith's hammer echoes through the square. Wives draw water from the well. Children chase chickens through the mud. Life is simple. Life is hard. But there is balance. The villagers respect the forest because it feeds them. Mushrooms grow in the shade. Deer paths lead hunters to game. The river that flows through the trees brings clean water to their fields. They take from the forest, yes, but they also give back. Each harvest, they leave bread and beer beneath the oldest oak. On midsummer, they hang wreaths of wildflowers on the boundary stones. When a tree falls, they whisper thanks before the axe bites wood. These are old customs. Some remember why they began. Others simply follow because their parents did, and their parents before them. But the customs endure because the forest endures. There is a clearing deep in the woods where few dare to tread. The trees grow in a perfect circle here. No underbrush tangles the ground. The earth is soft with moss. Light filters through the canopy in golden shafts. At the center stands the father oak. Its trunk is wider than 3 men with arms outstretched. Its roots break the surface like sleeping serpents. Its branches reach so high they seem to touch the clouds. The villagers say this tree has stood for 1,000 years, perhaps longer. Its bark is scarred with age. Lightning has struck it more than once, leaving pale wounds that never quite heal. Yet the tree lives on. Some say the father oak is where the Green Man sleeps. Others claim he was born from its heartwood. A few whisper that the tree and the man are one and the same. No one knows for certain. No one dares to ask. But on certain nights when the moon is full and the air is still, you can hear singing from the clearing. Not words, exactly. More like wind through leaves. Or water over stones. A sound that predates language itself. Those who hear it feel something stir in their chest, a longing they cannot name, a memory that is not their own. They wake the next morning uncertain if they dreamed it. In Ashwood, the seasons turn. Children grow into adults. Adults grow old. The old return to the earth. The forest watches all of it without comment. There are stories, of course. Every village has stories. Old Gareth the shepherd once saw a figure standing among the ferns at twilight, tall and still, crowned with antlers that weren't quite antlers. When he blinked, it was gone. Young Mara swears she found a circle of mushrooms that glowed faint blue in the darkness. She stepped inside and lost 3 hours. When she stumbled home, her mother scolded her for being late. But Mara couldn't remember where the time had gone. The miller's son went hunting alone and returned pale and shaking. He would not speak of what he saw, but afterward he refused to fell live trees. He only gathered dead wood. He left twice as many offerings as before. These stories are told quietly around the fire, in low voices. No one wants to invite attention. No one wants to seem foolish. But everyone believes, deep down, in the way you believe in your own heartbeat, because strange things happen in the forest. Not often, but enough. Paths appear where there were none. Streams change course overnight. Trees fall across the road when a traveler means harm to the village. Herbs grow in abundance near the homes of healers. Lost children find their way home, guided by foxes that vanish at the tree line. The forest provides. The forest protects. The forest remembers. And somewhere within its green depths, the green man walks. Spring arrives with soft rain. The fields turn green. Apple blossoms open like snow. The villagers plant their seeds and pray for good weather. The forest blooms too. Wildflowers carpet the ground in waves of purple and white. Birdsong fills the air from dawn to dusk. The river runs clear and cold with snowmelt from distant hills. It is a good year. The crops grow strong. The livestock fattens. Even the church roof, which has leaked for 3 winters, is finally repaired. The villagers feel blessed. They give thanks in their prayers. They leave extra offerings at the boundary stones. They speak of the forest with fondness, as one might speak of a generous neighbor. But in the great manor beyond the village, the Lord watches his lands with different eyes. Lord Cadwallon has ruled these estates for 5 years. He inherited them from his father, who inherited them from his father before. The bloodline is old, the title is ancient, but Cadwallon himself is young. He sees the forest not as sacred, but as resource. Not as neighbor, but as property. The trees could be timber. The land could be cleared for pasture. The streams could power mills. Every acre left wild is an acre wasted. His steward cautions patience. The villagers will resist. The forest has been untouched since time beyond memory. It would be unwise to anger them. But Cadwallon waves this away. He is lord here. The land is his to do with as he pleases. If the peasants complain, they can be reminded of their place. Besides, he does not believe in forest spirits. Such things are tales for children and fools. He looks out his window at the green expanse beyond his fields. So much timber going to waste, so much land lying fallow, he makes his decision. By summer, Cadwallon's ambitions grow clearer. He orders his men to mark trees along the forest edge. The best oaks, the straightest pines, timber for sale to the coast where ships are built and money is made. The villagers hear of this and grow uneasy. They petition the manor. They send their priest to speak on their behalf. They offer to increase their tithes if the Lord will leave the forest be. Cadwallon refuses. He calls them superstitious. He mocks their offerings and their rituals. He reminds them that the forest belongs to him, not to them, and certainly not to some fairy tale spirit. The villagers return to Ashwood in silence. They do not argue further. But that night, they leave twice the usual offerings. They light candles at the boundary stones. They whisper prayers to the old gods that the church pretends do not exist. Elda sits outside her cottage and gazes into the trees. The forest is quiet, too quiet. Even the birds have stopped singing. He knows, she whispers to no one. The green man knows. The children ask what will happen. Elda does not answer. She only shakes her head and goes inside. That night, the wind picks up. It rushes through the forest like a living thing. Branches creak and groan. Leaves thrash against each other in whispers that sound almost like words. In the clearing around the father oak, something stirs. The challenge of the hunt, autumn comes early this year. The leaves turn gold and crimson before their time. The air grows crisp. Frost touches the ground each morning, painting the grass white. Lord Cadwallon grows impatient. His men have marked the trees but have not yet begun cutting. They make excuses. The axes need sharpening. The weather is not right. The carts are being repaired. But Cadwallon knows the truth. They are afraid. He summons them to the manor hall. A dozen men stand before him, heads bowed, caps in hand. They are strong men, used to hard labor. But when Cadwallon demands they enter the forest and begin the harvest, they shift their weight and avoid his gaze. The oldest among them, a gray-bearded forester named Godric, finally speaks. "My lord, the forest is not safe for such work. Not now. The season is wrong. We should wait until—" "Enough." Cadwallon's voice cuts through the hall. "You speak of seasons as if the trees care when they fall. You work for me. You will do as I command." Godric's jaw tightens, but he nods. What else can he do? The other men follow his lead. They will begin at dawn. But that night, 3 of them flee. By morning, 2 more have vanished. The remaining men are pale and tense. They gather their tools slowly, as if walking to their own doom. Cadwallon watches from his window, fury rising in his chest. Cowards, all of them. Afraid of shadows and old wives' tales, he makes a decision. If his men will not do the work, he will show them there is nothing to fear. He will ride into the forest himself. He will find this clearing they whisper about. He will see this father oak with his own eyes, and when he returns unharmed, they will have no more excuses. He calls for his horse. He straps on his hunting sword. He takes no servants, no guards. This is a matter of pride now. He will face the forest alone and prove his courage. The villagers watch him ride past Ashwood. They do not call out, they do not wave, they only stare in silence as he disappears into the trees. Elda stands at her door. She shakes her head slowly. "Fool," she whispers. "Proud fool." The forest swallows him whole. One moment, Cadwallon rides along a clear path. Sunlight filters through the branches. Birds call in the distance. The world is ordinary and familiar. The next moment, everything changes. The light dims. The path narrows. The trees press closer, their branches reaching overhead like clasped fingers. The air grows thick and still. No birds sing, no insects hum. The only sound is his horse's hooves on soft earth and his own breathing. Cadwallon tells himself this is nothing, just a trick of the light, just his imagination running wild. But his horse knows better. It snorts and sidesteps. Its ears flatten. It does not want to deeper. Cadwallon urges it forward. The horse obeys, but reluctantly. Each step is slow. Each breath is labored. They follow the path deeper, or what Cadwallon thinks is a path. The trees all look the same now. The landmarks he thought he knew have vanished. He cannot tell if he is moving forward or in circles. Time stretches strangely here. Minutes feel like hours, or perhaps hours pass in what feels like minutes. He cannot say. Eventually, the trees open into a clearing. The father oak rises before him, massive and ancient. Its bark is dark with age. Its branches spread like a great crown. Cadwallon stares up at it. He has seen many trees in his life, but nothing like this. This tree is a living monument, a cathedral of wood and leaf. For a moment, just a moment, he feels small. Then pride returns. It is just a tree. Old, yes. Large, yes, but still just a tree. Timber and profit waiting to be claimed. He dismounts. He approaches the trunk. He runs his hand over the rough bark, feeling the deep grooves and ridges. "So this is what they fear," he says aloud. His voice sounds strange in the silence. Flat. Swallowed by the air. No one answers. The clearing is empty. Cadwallon smirks. He has proven his point. There is nothing here. No spirit. No magic. Just an old tree and the foolish tales of simple people. He turns to leave. That is when he sees the figure standing at the edge of the clearing. At first, Cadwallon thinks it is a man, tall and broad-shouldered, standing perfectly still among the ferns. But as his eyes adjust, he realizes this is no man. The figure's skin is the color of oak bark, dark, textured, rough as wood. His hair is not hair, but ivy and moss, growing thick and wild, cascading over his shoulders and down his back. His eyes are green, not the green of human eyes, but the deep green of spring leaves after rain. He wears no clothes, yet he is not naked. His body is covered in patterns of bark and vine. Lichen grows along his arms. Small flowers bloom at his collarbone. He is part of the forest, or the forest is part of him. The line between the two is impossible to draw. Cadwallon's hand moves to his sword. His heart pounds. His mouth is dry. "Who are you?" he demands. His voice cracks despite himself. The figure does not move, does not blink. He simply watches with those green eyes. When he finally speaks, his voice is like wind through leaves. Soft, layered, old beyond measure. I am what remains when men forget. Cadwallon swallows. He forces himself to stand straight, to meet that gaze. You are the one they call the Green Man. I am called many names. The figure tilts his head slightly. But names are fleeting. I was here before names. I will be here after they are forgotten. Cadwallon's grip tightens on his sword hilt, but he does not draw it. Something tells him steel would be useless here. This land is mine, he says instead. These trees are mine to do with as I please. The Green Man regards him in silence for a long moment. Then he steps forward. Each footfall is silent. Where his feet touch the ground, mushrooms spring up in his wake. Yours, he repeats. The word sounds strange in his mouth, as if he is tasting it for the first time. You claim the forest. You claim the trees. You claim the earth beneath your feet. I do. Cadwallon lifts his chin. By right of birth, by law. This is my inheritance. The Green Man stops a few paces away. He is taller than Cadwallon realized. Not just tall, but vast somehow, as if his true size is hidden just beyond perception. Tell me, the Green Man says softly. Did you plant these trees? Cadwallon blinks. No, they were here already. Did you feed the roots? Did you bring the rain? Did you teach the birds to nest in the branches? Of course not. But then how can you claim them? The Green Man's voice remains gentle, curious, not accusing, simply asking. Cadwallon opens his mouth, closes it. He has never been asked such a question before. It seems absurd. Of course the land is his. It has always been his family's land. But the Green Man waits for an answer. Because, Cadwallon says slowly, that is how the world works. Land belongs to those with power to hold it. Ah. The Green Man nods as if this makes sense. Power. He raises one hand. His fingers are long, too long. The nails are dark as soil. From his palm, a seed falls to the ground. It lands in the moss with the softest whisper. Before Cadwallon's eyes, the seed splits open. A root curls down into the earth. A shoot pushes upward. Leaves unfurl. In the space of 3 heartbeats, a sapling stands where nothing was before. The Green Man lowers his hand. This is power, he says quietly, to give life, to nurture growth, to turn death into soil and soil into bloom. He looks at Cadwallon. Those green eyes hold no anger, no judgment, only a deep, deep sadness. Your power takes, mine gives. Which do you think the forest will remember? Cadwallon's throat is tight. He wants to argue, to defend himself, to explain that he is Lord, that he has responsibilities, that he must make the land profitable. But the words die in his mouth, because he knows, suddenly and with terrible clarity, that none of it matters. Not his title, not his inheritance, not his plans or ambitions. The forest does not care about such things. The forest was here before lords and will be hereafter. And the Green Man is the forest. I could stop you, the Green Man says. His voice is still soft, still gentle. I could make the trees fall across your roads. I could turn the rivers away from your fields. I could call the deer and boar to trample your crops. He pauses. The silence stretches. But I will not. Cadwallon stares. Why not? The Green Man tilts his head again, that strange, bird-like gesture, because force breeds resentment, and resentment breeds return in kind. The forest does not teach through violence, it teaches through consequence. He gestures to the clearing around them, to the father oak, to the trees beyond. You wish to take from the forest, so be it, take what you need, but know that every tree you fell is a breath you remove from the world. Every root you tear is a vein you sever. The forest will not strike you down, but neither will it forget. The Green Man begins to step backward. With each step, he seems to fade. His edges blur. His form becomes less solid. The forest remembers, Lord Cadwallon. It remembers those who give, and it remembers those who only take. His voice echoes now as if coming from multiple directions at once. Choose wisely what you wish to be remembered for. Then he is gone, not disappeared, simply no longer separate from the trees around him, as if he has melted back into the green. Cadwallon stands alone in the clearing. His legs shake, his hands tremble. Cold sweat runs down his spine despite the mild air. He looks up at the father oak. It seems larger now, more present, as if it is looking back at him. For the first time in his life, Lord Cadwallon feels afraid, not of death, not of pain, but of something older and deeper. The fear that comes from knowing you are small and the world is vast and you understand far less than you thought. He does not remember mounting his horse. He does not remember finding the path, but somehow he rides. The forest guides him out, or perhaps simply releases him. By the time he breaks free of the tree line, the sun is setting. The sky is painted orange and purple. The village of Ashwood is just ahead. But Cadwallon does not ride to the manor. He sits on his horse at the edge of the forest, staring back into the trees. His chest feels hollow. His thoughts move slowly, as if through deep water. The forest remembers. Those three words echo in his mind, over and over. What will the forest remember of him? The cycle-restored days pass. Lord Cadwallon does not give the order to cut the trees. His men wait. They sharpen their axes and glance toward the manor, uncertain, but the order never comes. The villagers notice the change. They whisper among themselves. Some say the Lord has fallen ill. Others claim he has lost his nerve. A few dare to hope he has changed his mind. Elda says nothing, but she watches the tree line each evening and smiles a secret smile. Cadwallon himself is different. Those who see him notice it immediately. He moves more slowly. He speaks less. His eyes carry a distant look, as if he is always seeing something just beyond the present moment. His steward asks if he is well. Cadwallon nods vaguely. Well enough, he says, but he does not sound convinced. At night, he dreams of the forest. Not nightmares exactly, but dreams that leave him restless. Dreams of roots spreading beneath the earth, of seasons turning, of trees that were saplings when Rome fell, now ancient and patient. He wakes feeling old, far older than his years. One morning he rises before dawn. He does not call for servants. He dresses himself in simple clothes. He walks from the manor alone, leaving his horse in the stable. He walks through the village, past the well, past the church, past Elda's cottage where the old woman watches him with knowing eyes. He walks to the forest edge, to the boundary stones where offerings are left. There he kneels in the damp grass. From his pocket he draws a small loaf of bread. It is fine bread, better than what the villagers eat, baked in the manor kitchen that morning. He places it on the stone. His hands shake slightly. I am sorry, he says to the trees. I did not understand. The forest does not answer, but a breeze moves through the branches, gentle and cool. Cadwallon stands. He looks at the trees for a long moment. Then he turns and walks back to the village. Behind him, a fox emerges from the underbrush. It sniffs the bread, then carries it carefully into the forest, leaving no trace. The seasons turn. Autumn deepens. The leaves fall in great drifts of gold and red. The harvest is brought in. The village celebrates with feasting and song. Lord Cadwallon sends gifts to the village: barrels of ale, sides of beef, bolts of cloth. The villagers accept them with confusion and cautious gratitude. He also issues new orders. The marked trees are to be left standing. No logging will occur in the old forest. The villagers may continue to gather deadwood and hunt game as they always have. More than this, he establishes a new custom. Each year at harvest, the manor will leave offerings at the boundary stones alongside the villagers. Not as superstition, he tells his steward, but as thanks. The forest provides. The forest should be honored in return. His steward looks at him strangely, but he carries out the orders. The villagers hardly know what to make of this. Their lord has gone from threat to ally in the space of a season. Some suspect a trap. Others think he has gone mad. But Elda nods in satisfaction. The green man teaches, she tells anyone who will listen, and some are wise enough to learn. Winter comes. Snow blankets the land. The forest sleeps beneath white. The village hunkers down around fires and tells old stories. Cadwallon spends the winter reading. His manor has a small library, filled with books his ancestors collected. He finds himself drawn to the oldest volumes, histories of the land before the Normans came, before the Saxons, before the Romans. He reads of sacred groves, of offerings left for the spirits of wood and stream, of forests that were temples long before any stone church was raised. He reads of the Green Man, not by that name always. Sometimes he is called Sir Nunos, sometimes the Wild Man, sometimes simply the Forest Lord. But the stories are the same. The spirit of growth and decay, the guardian of the cycle, the reminder that humans are not separate from nature, but woven into it. Cadwallon reads by candlelight until his eyes ache, and slowly something shifts in his understanding. He has spent his life thinking of the land as property, as resource, as something to be controlled and exploited. This is what he was taught, what every lord is taught. But the forest has shown him another way. The forest does not take. It gives and receives in equal measure. Leaf becomes soil. Soil feeds root. Root becomes tree. Tree drops leaf. The cycle turns endlessly, and nothing is wasted. Humans, he realizes, are the only creatures that break this pattern. They take without giving back. They consume without a thought of replenishment. No wonder the green man looked at him with such sadness. Spring returns, the snow melts, streams swell with runoff, the first flowers push through the cold earth. Cadwallon walks to the forest again. This time he brings a spade. At the boundary, he digs a shallow hole. From his satchel, he draws a small oak sapling. He found it growing wild in the manor grounds. He has kept it watered through the winter, watching it carefully. Now he plants it here, at the forest edge. He packs the soil gently around its roots. He pours water from a flask to settle it. "One tree," he says quietly, "for all the trees I meant to take." He does not expect an answer. But as he stands, brushing dirt from his hands, he notices something. The sapling's leaves are moving, not from wind. The air is still, but the leaves tremble gently as if touched by an unseen hand. Cadwallon smiles. It is a small smile, uncertain, but genuine. He walks back to the village. He does not look behind him, but if he had, he would have seen a figure standing among the distant trees. Tall, crowned with green, watching. The green man nods once, then fades back into the forest. The years pass. The sapling grows. Lord Cadwallon continues his new practices. He walks the forest boundaries regularly. He leaves offerings. He listens to the villagers' concerns about the land and adjusts his demands accordingly. His steward thinks he has grown soft. His fellow lords mock him when they visit. They call him the tree friend. They laugh at his offerings and his reduced timber harvests. But Cadwallon does not care. His lands are healthy. His crops grow well. His people are content. The forest thrives at his borders, lush and vital. And on certain nights, when he walks near the tree line, he sees things. A stag with antlers that catch the moonlight like silver. A fox whose eyes gleam with more than animal intelligence. Shadows that move like dancers among the oaks. He does not speak of these things. They are not for telling. They are gifts. Small reassurances that he is perhaps learning the lesson the forest tried to teach. He grows older. His hair turns gray. His stride slows. But his mind remains sharp, and his respect for the forest deepens with each passing season. One autumn evening in the last year of his life, Cadwallon walks to the clearing. He has not been here since that first encounter, but now he feels drawn, called. The father oak stands as it always has, eternal, patient, vast. At its base, Cadwallon sits down heavily. His joints ache. His breath comes harder than it used to, but he is at peace. "I learned," he says to the tree, to the forest, to whatever might be listening, slowly, poorly, but I learned. The light shifts. A figure steps from behind the great trunk. The green man looks exactly as he did all those years ago, unchanged, timeless. He sits beside Cadwallon. They do not speak for a long time. Finally, the green man says, "You did well." Cadwallon laughs. It comes out as more of a wheeze. "I did very little. I simply stopped doing harm. That is more than most manage." They sit in companionable silence. Leaves fall around them, spiraling down in the golden light. "Will you remember me?" Cadwallon asks. His voice is soft, not quite afraid of the answer. The green man turns to look at him. Those green eyes hold the same sadness, the same depth, but also something else. Warmth. "The forest remembers all things," he says, "the good and the ill. But yes, you will be remembered kindly." Cadwallon nods. Tears prick his eyes. He does not know why he is crying. Relief, perhaps, or gratitude. "Thank you," he whispers. The green man places a hand on his shoulder. Where his fingers touch, Cadwallon feels strength flow into him. Not the strength of youth, but something deeper. The strength of roots that have weathered many storms. The strength of trees that bend but do not break. "Return to your home," the green man says gently. "Rest, your work is done." Cadwallon stands with effort. He looks down at the figure still seated against the oak. "Will I see you again?" The green man smiles. It is a strange expression on that bark-skinned face, beautiful and terrible at once. "I'll return to the forest eventually," he says, in one form or another. Cadwallon nods. He understands. He walks from the clearing slowly, taking his time. The forest seems brighter somehow. More alive, he hears birds singing, water running over stones, the whisper of wind through countless leaves. It sounds like music, like the world breathing. He reaches the tree line as the sun sets. The village lights glow warm in the dusk. He turns one last time to look back into the forest. For just a moment, he sees them. Figures moving among the trees. Some look like humans, others like animals. Some are both and neither. They dance and dart and flow like water. The forest is not empty. It has never been empty. He just had to learn how to see. Cadwallon smiles, then he walks home. 3 days later, he dies in his sleep, peacefully. A small smile on his face. His successor is his nephew, a young man with grand ambitions and little patience. The villagers worry. They fear the old battles will begin again. But on the night after Cadwallon's funeral, something happens. The nephew has a dream. In it, he walks through a forest that glows with soft green light. A figure approaches, tall, crowned with leaves, eyes like spring. The green man does not speak. He simply shows the nephew what will come if he follows greed instead of wisdom. Fields turn to dust. Rivers run dry, the land cracked and barren, the forest a memory. Then he shows another path, trees and farms existing side by side, balance, health, prosperity born not from taking, but from tending. The nephew wakes gasping, his sheets are soaked with sweat, his heart pounds. He rises and walks to the window. Dawn is breaking, the forest stands dark against the lightning sky. He thinks of his uncle's strange ways, his offerings, his restrictions, his respect for trees and old customs. Perhaps there was wisdom there after all. The nephew does not become Cadwallon. He is harder, more practical, less given to walking alone in the woods, but he maintains the protections. He honors the boundaries. He leaves offerings, though he does so with less poetry in his heart. It is enough. The forest accepts this compromise. The land remains healthy. The cycle continues. And in the clearing, beneath the father oak, the green man sits and watches, century after century, generation after generation. Some lords are cruel, some are kind, most are something in between, but the forest endures, and the green man teaches those willing to learn. The village of Ashwood grows, changes, shrinks, changes again. Families come and go. Names are forgotten, customs evolve, but the forest remains, and the stories remain, and the offerings in one form or another continue, because the people remember, even when they forget why they remember. The knowledge is written into the land itself, into the soil and the roots and the ancient stones. The forest gives. The forest protects. The forest remembers. And those who listen can hear its wisdom in every breeze, every bird song, every leaf that falls. Elda, in her last years, tells the children one final time, "The green man walks among the oaks. He always has. He always will. Respect the forest, little ones. Take only what you need, give back what you can, and remember that you are part of something larger than yourselves." The children nod solemnly. They do not fully understand, but they will, in time. When Elda passes, they bury her at the forest edge. A great oak stands nearby, its roots spreading wide. Within a year, wildflowers bloom on her grave, the kind that only grow in deep forest shade. The villagers say Elda returned to the green. The forest claimed her as its own. They say this with love, not fear. And on certain misty mornings, travelers swear they see an old woman sitting outside a cottage that no longer exists, smiling at the trees. But these are just stories, aren't they? The centuries turn. The world changes. Villages become towns. Towns become cities. Roads cut through ancient forests. Fields expand. Forests shrink. But some places remain, protected by law, protected by luck, protected by something older than either. The forest where the green man walks is one such place. It is smaller now, bounded by highways and housing developments, but it endures. And those who walk its paths still feel something. A presence, a watching. Not hostile, simply aware. On midsummer, hikers sometimes find circles of mushrooms that glow faint blue at twilight. They take photos, they post online. Scientists study the phenomenon and call it bioluminescence. But the locals know better. They leave the circles alone. They walk around them, not through, just in case. Because the forest remembers, the stories remain. And whether you call him the green man or something else, whether you believe or dismiss it as superstition, the truth is the same. The forest is alive, not with individual life, but with a collective consciousness, the sum of every tree, every root, every creature that has ever lived within its boundaries. And sometimes, if you listen carefully, you can hear it speak, not in words. Never in words, but in the rustling of leaves, in the pattern of bird song, in the way light falls through branches at certain hours. The forest teaches patience, it teaches cycles, it teaches that all things pass, but the pattern remains. These lessons are not for everyone. Some walk the forest paths and see only trees. They admire the shade, they enjoy the exercise, they leave and think nothing more of it. Others feel something deeper, a pull, a recognition, as if they are remembering something they never knew. These are the ones the green man watches, not to judge, not to test, simply to observe, to see if they will listen. Most do not. They feel the pull, but dismiss it. Imagination, they tell themselves. Nostalgia for a simpler time that never existed. They return to their cars and their screens and their busy lives, but a few stop. A few sit down on moss-covered logs and simply breathe. They notice the way ants carry crumbs along invisible highways, the way spiderwebs catch morning dew, the way fungi grow in patterns too perfect to be random. They begin to see the forest not as scenery, but as system. Everything connected, everything in balance, everything serving a purpose. These people often come back, not regularly, not on schedule, but when they feel the need, when the world grows too loud, when they need to remember what silence sounds like. The forest accepts them, shelters them, reminds them that they too are part of the pattern. And if they're very lucky, very quiet, very open, they might see him standing among the ferns, crowned with leaves, eyes like deep water. He will not speak. He rarely does anymore. The age of words has passed. Now he teaches through presence alone. But they will understand. They will feel it in their bones. The ancient knowledge that humans have tried so hard to forget. You are not separate from nature. You are nature. Your breath is the wind. Your blood is the rain. Your bones will become soil. Your soil will become trees. This is not death. This is continuation. This is the cycle. And the green man is the keeper of that cycle, the reminder, the guardian. He has been called many names. He will be called many more. But names do not matter. What matters is what he represents. The green world endures. It adapts. It survives. It reclaims what was taken and transforms what was destroyed. Cities fall, forests grow over the ruins, roads crack, trees split the pavement, walls crumble, vines embrace the rubble. The green world is patient. It can afford to be. It thinks in centuries, in millennia, in ages beyond human comprehension. And the green man is its avatar, its voice, its watching eyes. He sees you when you walk the forest paths. He knows your intentions. He weighs your actions, but he does not punish. That is not his way. The forest does not need to punish. It simply responds. Cause and effect, action and consequence. Respect the forest and it provides. Abuse it and it withdraws. Simple, eternal, true. This is what Lord Cadwallon learned all those centuries ago. This is what the villagers of Ashwood always knew. This is what modern hikers sometimes glimpse when they stop long enough to truly see. The forest is not here for us. We are here as part of it, one species among millions, one thread in a vast tapestry. When we forget this, we suffer. Our air grows foul, our water turns toxic, our food loses its vitality. We grow sick in body and spirit, but when we remember, when we honor our place in the pattern, something shifts. The burden lifts, the anxiety fades. We remember what it means to be human. Not conquerors, not owners, not separate, simply part of the whole, connected, woven in, necessary. The green man teaches this lesson to every generation. Some learn quickly, some learn slowly, some never learn at all, but he continues, patient as the trees, persistent as seeds, eternal as the cycle itself. In the modern forest that was once the woodland near Ashwood, rangers sometimes report strange occurrences. Trees that fall across paths minutes before a dangerous storm arrives, as if directing hikers to safety. Plants that grow in unusual patterns, creating natural shelters. Animals that behave oddly, leading lost children back to the trails. The rangers document these events. They note them in their reports. Some try and scientific explanations. Others simply shrug and accept that the forest has its own logic. One ranger, an older woman named Margaret, has worked these woods for 30 years. She has seen things she cannot explain. Tracks that appear and disappear, lights that dance between the trees, figures that vanish when approached. She does not speak of these things often, but when pressed, after a few drinks, she will admit, something lives here. I don't know what to call it, but it's old and it's aware. And as long as you show respect, it shows respect back. Her colleagues laugh. They tease her about spending too much time alone in the woods, but they also notice that Margaret is never lost, never injured, never caught unprepared. The forest seems to look after her, and sometimes when they walk with her, they swear they see things too. Shadows that move against the wind, trees that seem to lean toward her as she passes, birds that sing patterns too complex to be random. Maybe it is just imagination. Maybe it is pattern-seeking minds finding meaning in chaos, or maybe the Green Man recognizes those who still remember how to listen. The old stories say he appears differently to each person who sees him. To some, he is tall and terrible, crowned with antlers, eyes blazing with green fire. To others, he is gentle and sad, more spirit than flesh. Perhaps both are true. Perhaps he reflects what each person needs to see. The proud need to see power that dwarfs their own. The humble need to see kindness in the wild. Or perhaps he simply is, and our minds interpret him according to our understanding, like looking at clouds and seeing shapes. The shapes are not really there, but they are not really absent either. The forest works in paradox. It is both harsh and nurturing, both dangerous and safe, both ancient and ever renewing. The Green Man embodies this paradox. He is death and life, decay and growth, winter and spring. He is the compost heap that feeds the garden, the fallen tree that nurses new saplings, the fire that clears the understory and allows light to reach the forest floor. He is necessary, not always pleasant, not always gentle, but necessary. This is perhaps the hardest lesson, that destruction is part of creation, that loss is part of gain, that death feeds life. Modern humans struggle with this. They want growth without decay, they want life without death, they want to take without giving back. But the forest knows better, the Green Man knows better. The cycle cannot be broken, it can only be honored or denied. Those who honor it find peace. Those who deny it find only emptiness and endless hunger. Cadwallon learned this, the villagers knew this, and slowly, painfully, the world is learning it again, because the consequences of denial are mounting. The climate shifts, the species vanish, the soil turns to dust, the water runs thin, the forest remembers, the Green Man watches, and he waits, not with satisfaction, not with anger, simply with the patience of roots that have weathered 1,000 storms. The humans will learn, or they will not. Either way, the forest endures. The cycle continues. Life finds a way. With humans or without them, the choice is theirs. But for those who choose to listen, to learn, to honor the pattern, there is still time. There is always time, until there is not. The forest offers its wisdom freely. You need only walk its paths with an open heart. You need only sit in stillness and listen. You need only remember that you are not separate. You are the forest. The forest is you. Your ancestors walked under these same trees. Your descendants will breathe the air these trees create. This is not metaphor. This is literal truth. The atoms of your body have cycled through countless forms. They have been rock and soil, water and air, plant and animal, again and again. You are made of stars and soil, of ancient seas and older stones, of every creature that has ever lived and returned to the earth. The Green Man knows this. He remembers each form, each cycle, each transformation. And when you walk the forest paths, if you are quiet enough, open enough, humble enough, you might remember too, just for a moment, just a glimpse, but enough to feel the connection, enough to know you are home, enough to understand that you never left. The forest is not separate from you. It is you, your breath, your bones, your becoming. And the Green Man is the part of you that remembers this, the wild part. The rooted part, the part that knows how to grow toward light and dig deep into darkness and transform death into life. He lives in every forest, every grove, every garden, every potted plant on a windowsill. Wherever green things grow, he is there, waiting, watching, teaching those who will learn. The stories call him by many names: the Green Man, the Forest Lord, the Wild God, the Oak King. But perhaps the truest name is simply this, the part of the world that refuses to be forgotten, the green resilience, the patient persistence, the cycle that cannot be broken, only honored. He is older than language, older than gods, older than the oldest human story. He was here before we learned to walk upright. He will be here long after we are gone. But while we are here, while we walk this earth, he offers us a choice. Remember, honor, respect, give back as much as you take, or forget, abuse, consume, and face the consequences. The forest does not judge this choice, it simply responds. Choose wisely. The evening grows late, shadows lengthen across the forest floor, the air cools, night birds begin their songs. In a clearing somewhere, beneath a tree older than memory, a figure sits, his back against bark, his eyes closed, his breathing slow. He is resting, But he is also listening, always listening, to the rustle of leaves, to the scurry of small animals, to the deep, slow groan of roots spreading through earth. He hears it all. He is it all. The forest and the green man are one and the same, and he will remain through seasons and centuries, through human rise and human fall, through whatever comes next, because the forest endures, the cycle continues, the green world persists, and as long as one seed remains to sprout, one root to dig deep, one leaf to turn toward the sun, the green man will be there. Guardian, teacher, reminder, the part of the world that remembers what we forget, the part of ourselves we must remember to survive. Listen for him in the wind through the branches. See him in the pattern of moss on stone. Feel him in the coolness of shade on a hot day. He is there. He has always been there. He will always be there, waiting for you to remember, waiting for you to come home. The forest is patient. The green man is patient. They have all the time in the world. The question is, do you? Will you stop? Will you listen? Will you remember? Or will you walk past, distracted and hurried, missing the whisper of leaves that says, welcome home, welcome home. You were never separate. You were always ours. Come back. Remember. Be whole. The choice is yours. It always has been. It always will be. But the offer remains open. The forest waits. The green man watches. And when you are ready, when you can no longer ignore the call, when the concrete and glass and noise become too much and your soul cries out for something real, something true, something ancient and enduring, the forest will be there, just as it always has been, just as it always will be. Step off the path, sit among the ferns, put your hand on rough bark, breathe the green air deep, and listen. Just listen. The forest has so much to teach. The green man has so much to show. All you need do is stop, be still. Remember, you are part of this. You have always been part of this. Your forgetting does not change the truth. You are the forest. The forest is you, and the green man is the voice that reminds you. So listen, learn, remember. And when you leave, when you return to your life, carry the lesson with you. Give as much as you take. Honor the cycle. Respect the balance. Remember your place in the pattern. This is all the forest asks. This is all the green man teaches. It is enough. It has always been enough. It will always be enough. The forest remembers, the green man watches, and the cycle turns, eternal and patient, waiting for us to remember what we have always known, that we are not separate, we are not above, we are not beyond. We are part of the green world, woven into the pattern, connected to the cycle. And there is no greater peace than remembering this truth. The story ends where it began, in the forest, in the stillness, in the patient watching of green eyes. The green man sits beneath the father oak. He will sit there tomorrow and the day after and the day after that. Time does not move for him as it does for humans. One day is 1 century. 1 century is 1 breath. He has all the time in the world because he is the world, the green, growing, patient world, and he will wait for you, for all of us, for as long as it takes, until we remember, until we come home, until we honor the cycle once more. The forest endures, the green man watches, the lesson remains. Listen, learn, remember, return. This is the way. This has always been the way. This will always be the way. And in the deep green silence among the ancient trees, the cycle turns on, eternal, patient, waiting for you. Story 3. The abbey's ghostly bell, the bell that would not ring. Stone walls rise from the valley floor. Gray, ancient, built by hands long turned to dust. The abbey stands alone, miles from the nearest village, surrounded by hills that roll like frozen waves toward distant horizons. Mist clings to the valley most mornings, rises from a stream that cuts through rocky ground. The water runs cold and clear, fed by springs that bubble up from deep earth. The sound of it carries, a constant whisper, background music to the silence. The abbey was built 300 years ago, or perhaps 4. Records fade, memory blurs. What matters is it stands, has always stood, stone by stone, prayer by prayer, generation after generation of monks keeping their watch. 12 monks live here now, down from 30 in better times, down from 50 before that. The world moves on. Fewer young men feel the call. Fewer souls seek the quiet life of prayer and work and simple devotion. But those who remain do so with full hearts. They rise before dawn, pray 7 times daily, tend their gardens, copy manuscripts, keep the rhythm that has sustained this place since the first stone was laid. The Abbey Church dominates the complex, tall, narrow, built in the style of an older age, pointed arches, high windows, Stone columns that reach toward heaven like frozen prayers. Light filters through colored glass, paints the floor in reds and blues and golds. At the west end stands the bell tower, square, solid, rising higher than any other structure, 4 levels of stone, each smaller than the one below, topped with a peaked roof of dark slate. The great bell hangs in the upper chamber. Massive, cast from bronze in a foundry that no longer exists, forged by craftsmen whose names are lost. The bell weighs more than 3 strong horses, hangs from an oak beam thick as a man's chest. Ropes descend from the bell chamber, through holes in the floor, down through 3 levels, ending in the small room at the tower's base, where a monk might pull, might ring, might send the bell's voice across the valley, but the bell does not ring, has not rung for 7 years. Not since the day Brother Thomas climbed the tower, pulled the rope, and heard nothing, no sound, no tone, no voice. He climbed the stairs, all the way to the bell chamber, checked the clapper, the wheel, the mountings, everything appeared sound. Nothing broken, nothing loose. The bell simply would not speak. Other monks tried, one after another, each pulling with all their strength. The rope moved, the mechanism engaged, the clapper swung, but no sound emerged. The bell remained silent, stubborn, refusing its purpose. The abbot called for a bell founder, a craftsman from a city 2 days' journey away. The man arrived, climbed the tower, examined every inch. He tested the metal, struck it with hammers, listened with his ear pressed close, found nothing wrong. The bronze held no crack, no flaw. The shape remained true, the weight balanced perfectly. By every measure, the bell should sing, should fill the valley with its voice, but it did not, would not, could not, for reasons no one understood. The bell founder left shaking his head, took his payment, offered no explanation. What happens when a perfect thing refuses to work? When something meant to speak falls silent? No craft can answer, no skill can fix. The monks adapted, as communities do. They marked the hours by candle and sun, called each other to prayer by voice and wooden board. The rhythm continued, the life went on, but something felt absent, empty, like a hole in the fabric of their days. Older monks remembered the bell's voice, deep, resonant, rolling across the valley like thunder. Shepherds heard it on distant hills. Farmers paused their plows to listen. The sound carried weight, authority, comfort. It said the abbey stands. The prayers continue. All is well. Without it, the valley felt quieter, emptier, as if a conversation had ended mid-sentence, as if a question hung unanswered in the air. Some monks whispered about signs, about meaning. A silent bell carries omen. Perhaps it waits. Perhaps it knows something they do not. Perhaps it will speak again when the time comes, when the need arises, when the moment demands. Others dismiss such talk. Bells are metal, tools, objects. They work or break. No mystery lives in bronze, no purpose beyond what men give it. The bell stays silent because something unseen prevents it. When that something changes, the bell will ring, or it will not. Either way, their prayers continue. The abbot listened to both views, said nothing, kept his thoughts close. He was old, had served this abbey for 40 years, 20 as a simple monk, 20 as their leader. He had seen much, heard more, learned when to speak and when to hold silence. He climbed the tower sometimes, late at night when others slept, stood in the bell chamber, placed his hand on the cool bronze, felt the metal's weight, its presence. He prayed there, asked for understanding, asked for guidance, asked why this tool refuses its purpose. No answer came. The bell remained silent, cold, heavy, present but absent, useful but useless, a voice that would not speak. Years passed this way. 7 of them. The seasons turned, spring, summer, autumn, winter, again and again. The bell hung unchanged. The mystery deepened. The whispers grew. Some monks claimed to hear it in dreams, a sound like distant thunder, like the voice of earth itself. They woke unsure what was real. What was vision? What was hope dressed as memory? Others felt drawn to the tower, pulled by something they could not name. They climbed the stairs, stood beside the bell, felt peace there, or dread, or both mixed together. The boundary blurred. The youngest monks asked questions. Why does it not ring? What holds it silent? Can we fix it? Should we try again? The older monks shook their heads. Some things carry their own time. Some answers come when ready. Patience is a virtue. Waiting is prayer. The valley continued around them. Seasons turned, crops grew, animals grazed. The stream ran its endless course toward some distant sea. Life moved forward as it always does, indifferent to human puzzles, unconcerned with silent bells. But within the abbey walls, the silence of the bell became part of their story, part of their identity. They were the monks whose bell would not ring, the brothers who kept faith despite the absence, who prayed though heaven seemed deaf, who worked though their tool refused to work. This became their witness, their testimony. More powerful perhaps than any sound, the village knew. The valley knew. Even travelers passing through heard the tale, the silent bell of the abbey, the mystery that no one could solve. And so the abbey continued, stone and prayer, work and devotion. The bell hung silent above them, heavy, present, waiting, for what no one knew, but waiting nonetheless. The tower stood against the sky, dark stone, darker shadows. The wind moved through the upper chamber, whistled past the bell through gaps in the shutters, around the bronze that would not speak. At night, stars shone through those gaps. Their light touched the bell's surface, reflected back pale and cold. The metal gleamed in darkness, beautiful, useless. A voice trapped in solid form. The monks below slept or prayed or worked by candlelight. Their lives continued. The rhythm held. But the absence remained. A space where sound should live. A silence where voice should ring. And somewhere in that silence, something waited. Patient, certain, knowing that all things have their time. All voices speak when ready. All bells ring when the moment comes. The valley held its breath. The abbey stood its watch. And the bell hung silent, heavy, ready, waiting for the one who would finally call it forth. The sin of Brother Aldred. Brother Aldred arrived at the abbey on a spring morning 12 years before the bell fell silent, young then, barely 20, thin from poor eating, nervous. His hands shook as he knocked on the gate. The porter opened, looked him over, saw what everyone saw. A boy trying to be a man, a soul seeking shelter, another refugee from a world too harsh, too loud, too full of pain. The abbot interviewed him in a small room, plain. 4 walls, a table, 2 chairs, a window that looked out on the garden. They talked for an hour, maybe more. The abbot asked gentle questions, listened more than he spoke, read the silence between words. Aldred told his story. Parents gone, siblings scattered, no trade learned, no land to work. The world offered nothing but hunger and cold and endless struggle. He sought something different, something still. A place where days made sense, where purpose lived in simple acts. The abbot nodded, heard these words before, heard them 100 times from 100 young men. Some stayed, most left. The quiet life suited few. The rhythm felt strange after the chaos of the world. Many could not adjust, but he saw something in Aldred, a sincerity, a need that went deeper than comfort. This boy sought not escape, but finding, not hiding, but discovering. The abbot approved his entry, gave him to Brother Thomas for training. The first months tested him, as they test all novices. Early rising, long prayers, simple food, hard work, hours of silence. The body rebels against such change. The mind resists. Comfort screams for return. Aldred struggled. His back ached from garden work. His knees hurt from kneeling. His stomach complained about plain bread and thin soup. His thoughts wandered during prayer, raced, scattered, refused to settle. But he stayed. When others left, he remained. When temptation whispered, he turned away. Something in the abbey life called to him. Beneath the discomfort, beyond the difficulty, a rightness, a belonging, a sense that this was his place. He took his vows after 2 years. Poverty, chastity, obedience, spoken in the abbey church before all the brothers. His voice steady, his heart certain. He belonged now, part of something larger, woven into the fabric of this place. The years passed gently. Aldred grew into his role. His body hardened to the work. His mind learned the rhythm of prayer. His soul settled into the quiet life. He tended the garden, copied manuscripts, sang the offices, found peace in the pattern. Other monks saw him as reliable, steady, perhaps not brilliant, not gifted with special talent, but solid, trustworthy. The kind of brother who held the community together through simple faithfulness. Aldred felt content, more content than he had ever been. The world outside faded to memory, its noise, its hunger, its constant struggle. Here he had enough, had purpose, had brothers who knew his name, who prayed beside him, who shared the burden of the days. But something small and dark lived in his heart, a seed planted long ago, before the abbey, before the vows, a weakness he thought he had left behind, had outgrown, had prayed away. It began with a visitor, a merchant passing through, staying one night, seeking shelter from a storm. The monks welcomed him as they welcomed all travelers, gave him food, a bed, safety from the rain. The merchant told stories over dinner, tales of distant cities, strange lands, exotic goods. He spoke of silks and spices, of gold and gems, of markets where fortunes changed hands, where clever men grew rich. Most monks listened politely, smiled, then forgot. Their world was here, small, bounded by stone walls and prayer bells. The merchant's tales were entertainment, nothing more. But Aldred listened differently. Something stirred in him, a memory, a desire he thought had died, the old hunger, the wanting, the sense that somewhere else held something better, something more. The merchant left the next morning, the storm passed, the sun returned, life in the abbey continued unchanged. But Aldred felt different, unsettled. A question had entered his mind, a wondering, a what if. He tried to pray it away, knelt longer, worked harder, sought distraction in duty. But the seed had found soil, had put down roots, began to grow in the dark places of his heart. The merchant had left something behind, a small purse, forgotten on the guest bed. Aldred found it while cleaning, felt its weight, heard the clink of coins within. He should have taken it to the abbot, immediately, without thought. This was the rule, the way. All goods belonged to the community. Nothing was personal. Nothing was his. But he held it, felt the leather, the coins inside. So much wealth, more than the abbey saw in a year, enough to what? To leave, to start fresh, to return to the world with means instead of poverty? The thoughts came faster. He could claim he never found it, could hide it, wait, then slip away one night, take the coins, buy new clothes, travel to a city, start a life, a real life, with comfort, with ease, with all the things the world offered. No one would know. The merchant would not return, would not miss such a small sum. And Aldred could finally taste what he had given up, could finally live instead of merely existing in stone walls and prayer. He stood in the guest room, the purse in his hands, his heart racing, his breath short, the moment stretched, long, painful, pregnant with consequence. Then he slipped the purse into his robe, felt its weight against his ribs, heavy, accusatory, but his, hidden, secret. He did not take it to the abbot, did not confess, did not return it. He held it, kept it, buried it in a hole beneath a loose stone in his cell, covered it, hid it, pretended it did not exist, but it existed. Every moment, every prayer, every time he knelt or worked or sang, the weight lived in his chest, not the physical weight of coins, the weight of choice, of betrayal, of vows broken. Days passed, then weeks. No one asked, no one knew. The merchant did not return. The purse was forgotten by everyone except Aldred. He told himself he would return it, eventually, when the moment came, when he felt strong enough, when the temptation passed, but the temptation did not pass. It grew, fed by the secret, by the hidden thing, by the knowledge that he could leave, could escape, could choose differently. His prayers became hollow, words without meaning. His work felt empty, motions without purpose. His fellowship with the brothers grew strained. He smiled, nodded, spoke when required, but inside a wall had risen, a separation. He was no longer fully present, no longer truly one of them. Guilt ate at him, slow, constant, like rust on iron, like rot in wood. He woke at night, heart pounding, certain everyone knew, certain his face showed his sin, certain the abbot would call him, demand truth, cast him out, but no one called, no one knew. His secret remained hidden, buried beneath stone, living in his heart, growing heavier each day. He began to dream, strange dreams, dark dreams. In them the bell rang, loud, impossibly loud, shaking the abbey, shaking the earth, calling him, judging him, crying out his sin for all to hear. He woke from these dreams in cold sweat, trembling, unable to breathe. The bell's voice followed him into waking. Though it never rang, though it stood silent, he heard it, in his mind, in his soul, in the guilty spaces of his heart. Months became years, 5 years, 6, 7. The purse remained buried. The sin remained hidden. Aldred remained trapped, between staying and leaving, between confession and concealment, between the man he pretended to be and the thief he had become. His face grew drawn, his eyes hollow. Other monks noticed, asked if he was well, if he needed rest, if something troubled him. He smiled, lied, said he was fine, just tired, just struggling with prayer. Nothing serious, nothing that time would not heal. But time healed nothing. Time only deepened the wound, made the burden heavier, the wall higher, the separation more complete. He thought of confessing, nearly did, a dozen times, stood outside the abbot's door, hand raised to knock, ready to speak, to release, to finally let the weight drop. But fear held him. Shame. The knowledge that confession meant consequence, meant judgment, meant the end of everything he had built here. The peace, the belonging, the sense of home. So he turned away, again and again, walked back to his cell, knelt before his bed, prayed prayers that went nowhere, felt nothing, changed nothing. The bell hung silent above, but in Aldred's mind it rang, constantly, a voice crying accusation, a tongue speaking judgment, a sound that only he could hear. Growing louder, more insistent, more demanding with each passing day, something would have to break, would have to give. This could not continue. He knew this, felt it, sensed the approaching crisis the way animals sense coming storms. The bell waited, silent to all, deafening to him, patient in its bronze silence, ready for what he did not know, but ready nonetheless. And Aldred waited too, trapped in his guilt, buried in his secret, unable to move forward, unable to go back. Caught in the terrible space between confession and concealment, between truth and lie, between the monk he pretended to be and the sinner he truly was. The abbey continued around him. Prayers rose, work was done, seasons turned. But Aldred walked through it all like a ghost, present but absent, there but not there, alive but not living. 7 years after he hid the purse, the bell fell silent, stopped ringing, refused its voice. The same week, Aldred's dreams grew worse. More vivid, more terrible. The bell in his sleep rang louder than ever, shook the foundations, threatened to bring everything down. He began to wonder, to connect, to see pattern. Was the bell's silence related to his sin? Did it wait for him? Did it know? Such thoughts bordered on madness. Bells were bronze, metal, tools. They knew nothing, waited for nothing, simply were or were not. But the question haunted him, grew in his mind, became certainty without proof. The bell was silent because of him, because of his theft, because of his years of hiding. It would not ring until he confessed, until he released his burden, until he finally spoke truth. This thought terrified him and relieved him, because if true, it meant an ending was possible, a way forward, a path through the darkness. But it required the one thing he feared most, confession, truth, the words he had hidden for 7 years finally spoken into light. The tower waited above, the bell waited within, and Aldred waited below. All three silent, all three heavy, all three ready for the moment that approached. Inevitable, terrible, necessary, the moment when silence would finally break. The midnight toll. Autumn comes late to the valley. Summer holds on. Warm days, cool nights. The light takes on a golden quality, soft, forgiving, as if the world grows gentle before winter's arrival. The harvest is gathered, stored in cellars, in bins. The monks work steadily, bringing in apples, pears, late vegetables, preserving what they can, preparing for the lean months ahead. Aldred works among them, his hands moving, his body present, but his mind elsewhere, far away, lost in the labyrinth of his thoughts. The weight in his chest grows heavier. The voice in his head grows louder. He barely sleeps now. An hour here, an hour there, never deep, never restful. Dreams plague him the moment his eyes close. The bell, always the bell, ringing, crying out, calling his name. His hands shake during meals. His voice falters during prayer. Other monks watch him with concern, with growing worry. Brother Aldred is not well. Something troubles him deeply. He needs help, needs intervention. The abbot notices. Of course he notices. He notices everything, watches his flock like a shepherd, knows each sheep, sees when one wanders, when one struggles, when one needs guidance. He calls Aldred to his room. The same room where they first met, 12 years ago, a lifetime ago. When Aldred was young, seeking, hoping for something he could not name, they sit across from each other. The abbot's face, weathered by years, by responsibility, by the weight of shepherding souls, and his eyes hold kindness, patience, the willingness to listen as long as necessary. He asks gentle questions. How are you, brother? You seem troubled. Is there something you wish to share? Something that burdens you? Aldred opens his mouth. The confession right there. Ready. 7 years of weight behind it. Pushing. Demanding release. He can feel the words forming, can taste them, can sense the relief that would follow. But fear locks his throat, closes his lips, holds the truth inside. He stammers, says he is tired, struggling with prayer, nothing serious, nothing that rest would not heal. The abbot watches him, sees the lie, sees the struggle, but he does not push, does not demand. Confession must come freely, must flow from willing heart. Forced truth is no truth at all. He offers to reduce Aldred's duties, to give him time for rest, for prayer, for whatever healing he needs. Aldred nods, thanks him, stands to leave, feeling worse than when he entered. The weight doubled, the guilt multiplied. That night, a storm builds. Clouds gather through the afternoon, dark, heavy, full of rain and wind and the promise of violence. The temperature drops. The air grows thick, charged, electric. The monks gather for vespers, their evening prayer. Voices rise in the church, chanting, singing. The ancient words that have been spoken here for 300 years. The rhythm that sustains, that gives structure, that marks time with meaning. Aldred's voice is absent. He mouths the words but makes no sound, his throat closed. His heart racing. Something is coming. He can feel it. The pressure building, the storm outside matching the tempest within. The service ends. The monks file out, moving toward the refectory for their simple meal, then to their cells for sleep. The day completing, the cycle continuing, as it always does, as it always will. But Aldred does not follow. He remains in the church, kneeling in the shadows, his hands clasped, his head bowed, not praying, cannot pray, simply sitting, waiting. For what, he does not know. The storm breaks. Rain hammers the roof. Wind howls around the stone walls. Thunder rolls across the valley, deep, resonant, like the voice of the earth itself. Lightning flashes, bright, brief, painting the colored windows in stark relief. Aldred looks up, toward the tower, toward the bell chamber high above. The bell is there, silent, waiting, has always been waiting. For him, for this moment, for the truth he has held too long. He stands, his legs weak, his heart pounding. He walks toward the tower door, his feet moving without conscious choice, drawn, pulled, called by something larger than himself. The door opens. The stairway rises into darkness, narrow, steep, winding up through 4 levels of stone. He has climbed these stairs before, with other monks, checking, examining, wondering why the bell would not ring. But tonight feels different. Tonight carries weight, significance. As if the entire universe has narrowed to this moment, this choice, this climb. He takes the first step, then the second. The stairs spiral upward, lit only by occasional lightning through narrow slits. The storm rages outside, inside, everywhere. His breathing grows labored, not from exertion, from fear, from anticipation, from the certain knowledge that something is about to change, about to break, about to transform. The first level, the second, the third. Each one darker than the last, each one more isolated, more removed from the world below. He passes through them, climbing, rising, ascending toward the bell that has haunted his dreams for 7 years. The 4th level, the bell chamber. The door stands closed, oak, iron-bound, heavy. He reaches for the handle, his hand trembling, the metal cold against his palm. He pushes. The door swings open. The chamber revealed, small, square, open shutters on each wall, rain driving through, wind howling, the storm filling the space with violence. And there, the bell, massive, dark, hanging from its ancient beam, silent, patient, waiting. Aldred enters. The storm soaks him immediately, rain running down his face, his robe, the cold shocking, brutal, cleansing. He approaches the bell, places his hand on the bronze, feels its weight, its presence, the metal cold as death, solid as truth, real as sin. Lightning flashes, thunder follows, the storm at its peak, the world reduced to rain and wind and darkness. And in that darkness, Aldred finally speaks. Words pour from him, 7 years of silence breaking. He confesses to the bell, to the storm, to God, to himself. He tells everything, the purse, the theft, the hiding, the years of guilt, the wall between him and his brothers, the prayers that went nowhere, the soul slowly dying under the weight of concealed sin. His voice breaks. Tears mix with rain. He sobs, shouts, releases everything, holds nothing back. The confession total, complete, every hidden thing brought to light. He tells the bell he is sorry. So sorry. He does not ask forgiveness, does not deserve it. Simply releases, lets go. Speaks truth after years of silence. Confesses not to be absolved, but because he cannot carry the weight anymore, because the burden will destroy him if he does not set it down. The storm rages around him. The wind screams, the rain pounds, thunder shakes the tower. But Aldred feels peace for the first time in 7 years. Real peace. The weight lifting. The wall crumbling. The separation ending. He falls to his knees on the wet stone floor, his confession complete, his secret revealed, his soul finally unburdened. And in that moment, that breath, that space between storm and silence, the bell rings, one pure tone, clear, resonant, perfect, rolling out across the valley, through the storm. Beyond the rain and wind, a sound that has been silent for 7 years, now speaking, now singing, now calling out joy and judgment and grace all mixed together. Aldred hears it, feels it in his bones, in his chest, in his soul. The bell rings for him, for his confession, for his willingness to finally speak truth. The sound washes over him, through him, cleansing, forgiving, welcoming him back from the far country of his guilt. The note fades, slowly, reluctantly, leaving silence in its wake, but different silence, clean silence, empty in the best way. The absence that comes after something essential has been spoken, after truth has been told, after long-held burdens have been released. Aldred remains on his knees, weeping, not from sorrow now, from relief, from the overwhelming sense of being known, fully known, and somehow impossibly still loved, still belonging, still part of something larger than his failure. The storm begins to ease. The rain softens, the wind drops, as if the universe has exhaled, as if creation itself releases tension. The lightning fades, the thunder retreats, dawn approaches, distant, inevitable, bringing light after long darkness. Aldred stays in the bell chamber until morning, kneeling, sitting, standing, moving between the shutters, watching the storm pass, watching the sky lighten, watching the valley emerge from night. When the sun breaks the horizon, he descends, slowly, carefully, each step deliberate, conscious. He is different now, changed, the same body, the same face, but something essential has shifted, realigned, come back to center. He reaches the bottom, opens the tower door, steps into the abbey courtyard. Morning light touches stone walls, illuminates the garden, makes ordinary things luminous. The monks are gathering for lauds, morning prayer. They stop when they see him, wet, exhausted. His face transformed by tears and confession, and the thing that happens when truth is finally spoken. And they hear what he heard, what the whole valley heard, the bell, the single toll, the first sound in 7 years, the voice that had been silent now speaking, calling them to prayer, announcing a new day, declaring that something has changed. The monks look at each other, at Aldred, at the tower, questions in their eyes, wonder, confusion, all mixed together. The abbot emerges from the church, his face alert, awake. He heard the bell too, heard it from his prayers, knew immediately that something significant had occurred, that the long silence had ended, that grace had moved in the night. He sees Aldred, understands immediately, reads the story in his face, in his posture, in the exhaustion and peace mixed together. He crosses the courtyard, places his hand on Aldred's shoulder, says nothing, simply stands with him, shares the moment, acknowledges the cost and the gift of confession. Aldred speaks, his voice rough, raw, but clear. He tells the abbot about the purse, about the 7 years, about the weight, about climbing the tower, about confessing to the storm, to the bell, to God. The abbot listens, nods, his face grave but not angry, sad but not condemning. He has shepherded souls long enough to know everyone carries something, everyone hides. Everyone struggles with the gap between who they are and who they want to be. He asks if Aldred still has the purse. Aldred nods. It remains buried in his cell, under the stone where it has lived for 7 years, growing heavier, more poisonous, more destructive with each passing day. The abbot tells him to retrieve it. They will find the merchant, return what was taken, make right what can be made right, not to earn forgiveness, cannot be earned, but to complete the healing, to close the wound properly, to let the scar form clean. Aldred nods, grateful, relieved, ready. He goes to his cell, digs up the purse, feels its weight in his hand, lighter than he remembered, or perhaps he is stronger now. Perhaps confession has restored what guilt destroyed. He brings it to the abbot, places it in his hands. The transfer feels sacred, final, a tangible symbol of intangible change. The abbot accepts it, promises to find the merchant, to return what was taken, to complete what Aldred began in the bell chamber. The monks gather around, not accusing, not judging, simply present. Brothers, family, they know now, or suspect, or understand enough. One of their own struggled, fell, confessed, returned. This is the way, has always been the way, will always be the way. They pray together for Aldred, for all who carry secret burdens, for the grace to speak truth, for the courage to confess, for the mercy that receives, that welcomes, that restores. And above them, the bell hangs silent once more, its single toll complete, its voice given, its purpose fulfilled, but different silence now. Not refusal, not judgment, simply rest. The peace that comes after essential work is done. Days pass, then weeks. The abbot sends word to the merchant. Through careful inquiry, patient searching, the merchant is found, the purse returned with interest, with explanation, with apology. The merchant is gracious, grateful, surprised to receive back what he had forgotten, what he had written off years ago. He sends his blessing, his thanks, his admiration for a community that values truth so highly. Aldred receives this news with quiet joy. The circle closed, the wound cleaned, the healing begun. He returns to his duties, to his prayers, to his place among the brothers, but changed, lighter, free in a way he had forgotten was possible. His prayers deepen, no longer hollow, no longer empty. They flow from honest heart, from clear conscience, from soul no longer divided against itself. He finds peace in the rhythm again, purpose in the work, joy in the fellowship. The monks notice, see the transformation, know what confession can do, what truth can accomplish, what happens when burdens are released rather than carried. They do not speak of it often. Some things live best in silence, in the space between words, in the understanding that needs no voice, but they know, and Aldred knows, and the bell knows, high in its tower, silent but present, waiting for the next time, the next soul, the next moment when voice is needed, when silence must break, when truth must be called forth. The valley settles into winter, snow comes, covers the hills, transforms the world into white and gray. The abbey continues, prayers rise, work is done. The brothers keep their watch. And sometimes on quiet nights, Aldred climbs the tower, not from guilt now, from gratitude. He stands in the bell chamber, places his hand on the bronze, feels its cold weight, its patient presence. He thanks it for ringing, for calling him forth, for being the voice he needed when he could not find his own. The bell is silent, gives no answer. But Aldred does not need answers now. He has found what he sought, peace, forgiveness, the freedom that comes from living in truth. He descends, returns to his cell, sleeps deeply, without dreams, without fear, the rest of those who have been honest, who have confessed, who have let go, and above him the bell waits, silent, ready, keeping its watch, knowing that someday, perhaps, it will ring again, when another soul needs calling, when another truth must be spoken, when another burden must be released. Until then, it hangs, heavy, present, a voice that spoke once, that will speak again. When the time comes, when the moment demands, when confession is ready to break through silence, the seasons continue their turn. Winter deepens, snow piles against the abbey walls, the stream freezes at its edges. Monks walk carefully on icy paths, their breath visible in the cold air, white clouds that vanish as quickly as they form. Inside, fires burn in the common rooms. Small fires, carefully tended, wood is precious, must last through long months. The brothers gather close, share warmth, share stories, share the companionship that makes cold bearable. Aldred sits among them, part of the circle again, fully present, his laughter genuine, his silence comfortable rather than haunted. The wall has fallen, the separation ended. He belongs again, not because he earned it, because he returned, because he chose truth over hiding, light over shadow. The abbot watches him sometimes, sees the change, feels gratitude for grace that restores, for mercy that heals, for the mysterious ways truth sets captives free. He has seen this pattern before, will see it again. Monks are human, humans stumble, fall, hide, but some find courage to confess, to return, to begin again. This is the real miracle, not the bell ringing, though that was extraordinary. The real miracle is a soul restored, a brother returned, a life reclaimed from the darkness of concealment. This is what the bell announced, what its single toll proclaimed, that redemption is real, that confession heals, that truth, however painful, leads to freedom. Winter nights grow long. The monks rise in darkness, pray while stars still shine. Their voices rise in the cold church, breath misting, hands wrapped in sleeves for warmth. They chant the ancient words, the psalms, the prayers that have sustained the faithful for 1,000 years. Aldred's voice joins theirs, strong again, clear. He knows these words carry weight now, mean something real, flow from authentic place. Prayer is not performance, not ritual emptied of meaning, but conversation, connection, the soul speaking to its source. He finds himself drawn to certain psalms, the penitential ones, David's cries after his sin, the raw honesty, the refusal to hide or excuse, the bare acknowledgement of failure. These words feel like his own, like his story written centuries before he lived it. Create in me a clean heart, O God. Renew a right spirit within me. He speaks these words with feeling, knows their truth, has experienced their power. His heart has been cleaned, his spirit renewed, not by his own effort, by grace, by the mercy that meets confession with forgiveness. The other monks notice his devotion, his depth. Something has changed in Brother Aldred, something essential. He prays like a man who knows what prayer costs, what it offers, what it accomplishes when offered from honest heart. Winter passes slowly, as winter always does. February drags, March teases with false springs, then returns to cold. The monks endure, keep their rhythm, trust that warmth will return, that season cycle, that winter always yields to spring, and it does. Green shoots appear in the garden, snow melts, reveals brown earth, waiting, ready. The stream swells with runoff, runs fast and loud, celebrating its freedom from ice. Birds return, their songs filling the valley, announcing life, renewal, the endless pattern of death and resurrection. The monks plant, dig in the soft earth, place seeds, cover them, water them. Trust that buried things will rise, that what looks dead holds life, that patience yields harvest. This is their faith made visible, hands in dirt, hope in action. Aldred works beside them, his hands strong, his back bent to the task. He finds joy in this work, in growth, in the tangible proof that endings lead to beginnings, that confession is planting, truth-telling is sowing, and from honest acknowledgement, new life emerges. Summer comes green and full. The garden flourishes, vegetables swell, fruit forms on trees, the bees work among the flowers. Busy, purposeful, part of the great web of creation. Each small creature playing its role, contributing to the whole. The abbey thrives. More visitors come, travelers seeking shelter, pilgrims seeking blessing, the sick seeking prayer. The monks receive them all. Feed them, house them, pray with them. This is their mission, their calling, their way of loving a world that often forgets how to love itself. Aldred serves in the guest house, welcoming strangers, listening to stories, offering what comfort he can. He is good at this. His own experience of burden makes him gentle, understanding. He knows how much weight people carry, how many hide their struggles, how desperately souls need someone to listen without judging. One evening, a young man arrives, barely 20, thin, nervous, his hands shaking as he knocks. Aldred opens the door, sees himself 12 years ago, the same fear, the same seeking, the same desperate hope that somewhere offers sanctuary. He welcomes the young man, gives him food, water, a place to rest. They talk late into the evening. The young man tells his story, similar to Aldred's, different in details, same in essence. Lost, searching, hoping for something he cannot name. Aldred listens, does not offer easy answers, does not promise that the abbey will solve everything, but shares his own story, his arrival, his struggles, his failure, his confession, his restoration, the truth that saved him, the grace that healed him. The young man listens, his eyes wide, absorbing, considering. He asks questions. Aldred answers, honest, direct. The monastic life is hard, demands much, offers no shortcuts. But for those who truly seek, who persevere, who choose truth over comfort, it offers something real, something deep, something worth the cost. The young man stays, begins his novitiate. Aldred watches over him, not as master, as brother, as friend, as fellow traveler on a difficult path. He remembers his own early days, shares what he learned, offers encouragement when the young man struggles. And struggle he does, as all novices do. The early rising, the plain food, the long silences. The body rebels, the mind resists. Comfort screams for return, but slowly, gradually, the rhythm takes hold, the pattern shapes him. The life begins to feel less like prison, more like home. Years pass this way. The young man takes his vows, becomes Brother Martin, finds his place in the community. Aldred watches with quiet pride, not his achievement, but grace working, life continuing, the pattern repeating, each generation teaching the next, each soul helping another find their way. The bell remains silent through these years, does not ring, but its presence continues. A reminder, a witness, a voice that spoke once that might speak again. The monks check it periodically, keep it maintained, clean, ready, just in case, just in hope, just in faith that silence does not mean absence. Aldred climbs the tower sometimes, not often, but occasionally, when he needs perspective, needs to remember, needs to give thanks. He stands in the bell chamber, places his hand on the bronze, feels grateful for that storm-torn night, for the confession it called forth, for the toll that marked his return to life. The bell is cold under his palm, silent, but not dead, not broken, simply resting, waiting, keeping watch with him, over the valley, over the abbey, over all the souls who seek, who struggle, who sometimes fall and need help rising. He looks out through the shutters, sees the valleys spread below, green in summer, gold in autumn, white in winter. The eternal cycle, the pattern that holds all things, death and life, falling and rising, sin and grace, brokenness and healing. The view never grows old, never becomes ordinary. Each time he climbs, each time he looks, he sees it fresh, sees it true, sees it as gift, as blessing, as evidence that beauty persists, that hope endures, that grace is real and present and available to all who seek it. Down below, the monks continue their work, their prayers, their simple devotion to the life they have chosen. From up here, they look small, fragile, vulnerable. But Aldred knows their strength, knows what holds them together, not perfection, not absence of struggle, but commitment to truth, to confession, to the continual choice of light over darkness. They stumble, all of them, in ways large and small. Some hide their struggles for a time, but eventually, if they stay, if they persevere, if they let the life work on them, the truth emerges, the confession comes, the grace flows, the healing begins. This is the real miracle of the Abbey, not the silent bell, not the occasional supernatural occurrence, but the daily miracle of broken people choosing to be honest, to confess, to seek help, to receive grace, to begin again. Aldred descends the tower, returns to his duties, to his prayers, to his place among the brothers. The day continues, the rhythm holds, vespers approaches, then compline, then sleep, then rising, then beginning again. This is the pattern, simple, profound, endlessly repeated, yet never quite the same. Each day brings new challenges, new joys, new opportunities for faithfulness or failure. The choice remains, will always remain. Autumn arrives again, the cycle completing, beginning anew, leaves turn, crops are gathered, the air grows crisp, days shorten, darkness comes earlier, lingers longer. Winter approaches, as it always does, as it always will. The monks prepare, storing food, gathering wood, repairing walls, making ready for the cold. They have done this before, will do it again, the pattern familiar, comforting. Proof that life continues, that the wheel turns, that after every winter comes spring. One evening, as the sun sets, the bell rings. Not once, but 3 times, clear, resonant, perfect. The sound rolls across the valley, through the twilight, into the gathering darkness, announcing, proclaiming, declaring something. The monks stop their work, look toward the tower, surprise on their faces, wonder. The bell has been silent for years, since that storm-torn night when Aldred confessed. Why does it ring now? What calls it forth? They gather in the courtyard, looking up, listening, waiting for more. But the bell falls silent again, 3 tolls, then quiet, as if it spoke what needed speaking, announced what needed announcing, then returned to its patient watching. The abbot emerges from the church, his face thoughtful. He looks at the tower, at the monks, at the sky darkening overhead. He smiles, small, knowing, as if he understands something the others do not. He tells them to continue their evening prayers, to trust that the bell spoke for its own reasons, beyond their knowing, beyond their need to understand. Some things simply are. Some voices speak when ready. Some mysteries remain mysterious. The monks obey, file into the church, begin their chanting. But their minds wander, wonder, question. Why 3 tolls? Why now? What does it mean? Aldred knows, or thinks he knows, or perhaps simply feels. The bell rings for all who confess, for all who return, for all who choose truth over hiding. It rang once for him, rings now for someone else, or for everyone, or for the simple joy of breaking silence with song. The meaning matters less than the sound. The sound matters less than the reminder that grace is real, that confession heals, that buried things can rise, that silence can break, that bells ring when the time comes, when the moment demands, when truth is ready to be spoken. The prayers continue, voices rising in ancient rhythm, words worn smooth by centuries of repetition, yet still fresh, still true, still capable of carrying meaning, of connecting earth to heaven, of joining souls in common purpose. The service ends, the monks depart, moving toward their evening meal, their cells, their rest, the day completing, the night beginning, the cycle continuing its eternal turn. Aldred remains in the church, kneeling in shadows, not from guilt now, from gratitude, for the bell that called him forth, for the grace that received him, for the community that welcomed him back, for the pattern that holds even when individuals stumble. He prays thanks, simple, honest, from full heart, for second chances, for the courage to confess, for the mercy that forgives, for the life that continues after ending, for bells that ring in darkness, announcing light, proclaiming hope, declaring that all shall be well, and all shall be well, and all manner of things shall be well. Outside, stars emerge, one by one, filling the sky, ancient lights, constant, faithful, shining through darkness, holding their positions, marking time, witnessing the endless turning of all things. The valley settles into night, the stream whispers, the wind moves through trees. Small sounds, natural sounds, the voice of creation at rest, at peace, at home in its own being, and high in the tower. The bell hangs, silent now, its three tolls faded into memory, into the darkness, into the valley, but not gone, never truly gone. Sound waves traveling, spreading, touching distant ears, distant hearts carrying message beyond words, beyond understanding, beyond the limits of mortal knowing. The bell has spoken, will speak again, when needed, when called. When truth demands voice, this is its nature, its purpose, its eternal gift to the world, to be ready, to be willing, to break silence when silence must end. Aldred rises from his knees, leaves the church, walks across the courtyard, his shadow long in the moonlight, his steps steady, sure, he is free, has been free since that storm-torn night, since confession broke the chains, since truth opened the prison, since grace welcomed him home. He enters his cell, small, simple, stone walls, narrow bed, a window that looks toward the tower. He can see its dark shape against the stars, solid, patient, watching. He lies down, closes his eyes, sleep comes easily now. Deep sleep. Restful sleep, the sleep of those who have nothing to hide, who live in light, who have been honest and found that honesty leads not to destruction but to life. Dreams come, but gentle dreams, good dreams. He walks through the valley, the sun warm on his face, brothers beside him, laughter, work, prayer, the simple goodness of a life well lived, a burden released, a soul restored, and somewhere in that dream, the bell rings, soft, distant, but clear. A voice calling, welcoming, blessing, saying yes, yes to confession, yes to truth, yes to the hard work of being honest, yes to the grace that meets honesty with love. Aldred smiles in his sleep, turns over, settles deeper into rest, the bell's voice fading, leaving only peace, only stillness. Only the deep assurance that all is well, that he is home, that grace is real. Morning will come, the cycle will continue, prayers will rise, work will be done, seasons will turn, years will pass, the bell will hang silent or will ring, depending on need, on call, on the mysterious workings of grace. But tonight, this night, all is peaceful, all is still. The confession has been made, the toll has been rung, the grace has been given, the healing has begun and continues. Will always continue. This is the way of things, the pattern that holds, the truth beneath all truths, that we carry burdens, that burdens must be released, that confession heals, that grace restores. That bells ring in darkness, that light follows, always follows, even after the longest night. The abbey sleeps, the valley rests, the stream flows, the stars shine, and high in the tower the bell watches, silent, present, ready for the next soul, the next confession, the next moment when truth must be spoken, when silence must break, when grace must be announced with the clear voice of bronze singing into darkness. This is its vigil, its purpose, its eternal gift, to be there, to be ready, to speak when called, to witness grace, to announce redemption, to remind all who hear that no sin is too great, no hiding too deep, no soul too lost, that confession heals, that truth frees, that grace is real and present and waiting. The bell knows this, has always known, will always know, and waits, patient beyond measure, still beyond understanding, ready beyond time for the next turning, the next call. The next soul who needs to hear that voice ringing out into the night, saying, come home, all is forgiven. All is well. Come home, and in the valley below, life continues. Monks pray, work, sleep, rise, pray again. The pattern holds, the rhythm sustains, the grace flows, like water, like light, like the endless turning of seasons, death and life, falling and rising, sin and grace, brokenness and healing. This is the story, has always been the story, will always be the story, of bells that ring and bells that wait, of souls that hide and souls that confess, of burdens carried and burdens released, of grace that seeks and grace that finds, of the eternal truth that no one is beyond the reach of love. The night deepens, silence settles, peace descends, and somewhere in the space between sleep and waking, between prayer and dream, between confession and forgiveness, the bell hums, so quiet, so deep, so full of knowing, waiting, always waiting for the next soul who will climb the tower, who will speak truth, who will hear, finally hear, and the voice that has been calling all along, "Come home. Come home. The bell is ready. The grace is waiting. Come home."